Kara, is your top bandages?
Yeah, basically. It's one long bandage I've kind of like wrapped around my torso.
That kind of whips.
Yeah.
Like the mummy.
Whips.
Yeah.
I'm kind of into like post-apocalyptic vibes right now for fashion. So I'm like,
The world is very into apocalyptic vibes right now. Just for
yeah.
Gotta start
stuff.
early.
For everything, yeah.
That's right. Oh my God, it's Red Planet. What's going on, everybody?
Ooh, yeah.
Welcome in. Look at us. We're great.
Oh my God, we're here.
Jesus. Listen, you know what the show is. You know what it's all about. And we're going to start with the standard procedure. I'm taking the reins.
What if people don't know what's it about? If this is their first time here, did you ever consider the first timers?
You know what? No. And that's a really good point. I'm going to do better. And I'm going to now address...
Want to hold yourself accountable?
I'm going to hold myself accountable. I'm going to correct my mistake, right? And what we do here at Red Planet is we do really based stuff. So anyway, let's start with the next... with the main thing that we normally do, which is asking everyone in the show, what's the most base thing you did this week? Tim.
Me. Well, so the last couple of weeks have been pretty wild down here. There was a flood, which I think was... Wait, when was the last time I was on stream? Because I've had to take a couple off because of these weeks.
I think it was 2 weeks ago, yeah.
Yeah. So
at
we had
least
the flood, and then there was like a series of earthquakes, and then there was like a cyclone, and yeah. And that was like the last 2 weeks or so. So yeah, it's been pretty rough. But throughout that period, I'd like kind of assembled a bunch of like, supplies and stuff. Like, well, I actually already had a lot of stuff, like, even stuff from a while back, like big like bottles of water and all that kind of stuff. And then so the most basic thing I did this week, I guess, was now that where I am is kind of in the clear. There's still a lot of areas that are really like still really fucked up, but I was able to donate the excess stuff that we had here to it's like there's like an area called Piha that's got like been really messed up, and well, one of the many areas that's been messed up, and so yeah, we were took a bunch of stuff over there, and helping the people that are still like significantly more affected by it than we are in my little area of West Auckland. But yeah,
Tim, if you want to call yourself a prepper, you can do that. We accept you.
Not really.
As a
I mean,
prepper.
it wasn't like that wild. Just like a bunch of bottles of water, a big like like how like you get the bottles of water, but then you get them those like plastic wrapped bigger things, like one of those, then a big bottle, and then just like a bunch of like tinned stuff and like little soup packets and things like that. So yeah, so pass that stuff along. That was probably it for this week. What about Meal? What's the most base thing you did this week?
So yeah, I've been back on the GMTU grind. We have had a lot of awesome and interesting things this week. We had our all member meeting. We have all member meetings every 3 months, for the democratic process to like, allow people to put through proposals, vote for them, object to them, etc. And also just discuss things that we've been doing. And yeah, so a lot of positive things from that, but actually the most base thing I did with the union this week, for anyone that doesn't know, this is Greater Manchester Tenants Union. If you're new here, yeah, it's a tenants union where a bunch of basically we're a union of tenants, fighting back against landlords and social housing companies. And speaking of social housing companies, people on Red Planet might remember our member Anya, single mother, Polish immigrant, who was left without gas for 11 days. Gas was everything to her, like her cooking, her heating, her hot water. And yeah, this is just like a small blip in this woman's life of things that have gone wrong as a result of the bureaucratic nature of Britain and the hostile environment of our country towards immigrants. And you know, the housing association only acted when Greater Manchester Tenants Union made a tweet about how outrageous this was. And finally this week, we actually met with the housing association. So it was me, Ben, who's been on the show, Ben Clay from the union, and our member Anya, and we spoke to First Choice Homes Oldham. And I don't think I've ever been in a meeting before where someone knows that they fucked up. They knew that they fucked up real bad, so much so that they gave us everything that we asked for. So we got our member £3,000 in compensation, rent arrears wiped, all the issues in her home
amazing.
are going to be inspected by like the official inspector and all this kind of stuff. And she's been offered a place on the Tenants Voice Committee of First Choice Homes Oldham.
Oh, wow.
In order to actually like affect how, you know, things go moving forward. And they've committed to a working relationship with Greater Manchester Tenants Union to improve the lives of their tenants. So listen, it's really, really good. It's very, very positive, but you know, we'll see how it goes, because at the end of the day, this is all very nice in theory, and it's very easy for a company to throw a lot of money at someone when they know they've fucked up. But we'll be keeping an eye on them basically. So yeah, stay tuned. That's the most base thing I did this week. What about our beautiful, sweet Sophie? What have you done?
Oh my goodness, I had quite a big week. It was my anniversary with Nat for 7 years on Tuesday. As our anniversary was on Valentine's Day.
Happy anniversary!
Which was really nice.
Too.
Yeah, it was really sweet. It was a really lovely anniversary. Before that, I took some supplies to a comrade who's very sick. He's kind of experiencing burnout, so he's quite sick all the time. And yeah, I just had to like hang out and chat with him. He's really, really based, and like we don't get to chat enough, and it was really cool to see him. And I felt, you know, felt very based, helping my comrades out. And then on Wednesday, we went to the vigil for Brianna Ghey, which we'll talk about more in a sec and throughout this episode. And my comrade was there, and I was like, "You're sick. Why are you here?" And that was very cool. Just a generally good and cool vigil, good and cool protest. I did some Antifa super soldier stuff there that I can't really talk about. I also went to my first rave this week. I've never been to one before. It was very based. I enjoyed it a lot. And yeah, and also today it looks like I said I was going to give updates on my trans healthcare struggle. I have gotten a step closer to having my healthcare sorted out. I should be getting free therapy and laser.
Hell yeah.
Yeah, I'm really fucking excited for it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, I'll update about that more in future, but it's going pretty well. And yeah, I don't know. I have some complicated feelings. It's a good and cool time. I'm trying to remember if I did anything else. It has been a really big week, but my head's kind of all over the place because it's been so intense. Yeah, basically I just need to get some documents together and send them over to Trans Plus, and then I should finally be through. Kira, what about you? What was your most base thing this week?
Well, this week, Bellamy Jujiro, Aronok, and myself organized a 3-day fundraiser for Trans Lifeline. We organized it like within hours. So we were going to have like a 3-day stream where we stream together and we played Destiny 2. I go like the game Destiny 2, where I was introduced to it for the first time by Aronok, because Aronok's like really into Destiny 2. If you don't know, Aronok and Bellamy are both creators on YouTube, and they do streams on Twitch as well. And they're personal, really good friends of mine. They're both trans. And so we were talking Discord. I was like, okay, since we're doing this like 3-day Destiny 2 thing, let's just like, how about we do a fundraiser? Like right now, I think we really, it's not only, I think as I don't think anyone here listening needs to know that like right now, like supporting trans people is like the utmost imperative. Like it's extraordinarily important. But not only will the funds be helpful, like we can actually have a really great excuse to get the like community together and to like show visibly that we're here for each other. And so we did, and we raised $27,000 for Trans Lifeline, which was cool as hell.
Yeah,
incredible.
Based.
Yeah,
so
it was
based.
awesome. And then I also 2 days after that was on Nicotine stream, and Nicotine, because Nicotine was also doing a fundraiser, and Nicotine ended up raising, I think, like about $6,000 for a trans justice funding project in a day, which is fantastic.
Yeah. That's
Yeah,
right.
so some really awesome stuff that we're doing. It was really cool, and it was really great to get together with so many people, to meet a lot of new people, to hear a lot from not only trans people, but also to hear from a lot of like trans BIPOC people, like trans Black people, because trans Black femmes, like it particularly underrepresented group of people, for a multitude of reasons. They have a really hard time getting their voices heard. And so it was awesome hearing their stories and hearing their perspectives. And I feel very honored that they were a part of our fundraiser. So yeah, I think it was like great for educational reasons. It was great for community building, so we can like all see visibly that people give fucks, like very much give fucks about trans people. And then we also raise funds for Trans Lifeline, which is a fantastic organization if you don't know. But in the future, what we were talking about, what we would like to do is try to find a way to code in goals for GoFundMes and alerts for GoFundMe. So right now for fundraisers, the way they work is like typically fundraisers are when you have like alerts that pop up on screen, they're only for like things that these particular like companies are allowing you to link, whether it be like your personal PayPal or or a charity that's been like approved as a charity or so on and so forth. But like GoFundMes are like not like, there's no way to get alerts for GoFundMes, right? But like that's like a really great way to directly help a lot of trans folks. Like, I don't know if you've been on Twitter, but like there's a lot of trans people that like are like, I'm going to be evicted in like a week. I really need these funds, and they'll post a GoFundMe. And so while Trans Lifeline is a really great organization, that they're run by trans people, they know how to disseminate funds to people that need them. It is still another step, and if you're like someone that's watching right now and you're like, shit, I'm going to be evicted in like 5 days, you need the funds right now. So in the future, we would like to, I know Aronach and Bellamy, they're both know how to do Cody stuff, apparently. Apparently trans people are really big on the Cody clicky clack stuff. Apparently, this is what I hear.
They wear sunglasses indoors.
yeah. And so they're looking into trying to create some sort of like software or whatever, some sort of API. I don't know. You tech people know. Some clicky clack thing to make it so we can get on-screen alerts and like goals, like visible goals for GoFundMes, which I think in the future would be fantastic. So yeah, that was this week. It was a pretty overwhelming week, but overwhelming in the good direction.
That's fantastic. Yeah. I remembered two more based things from my big based week, if it's okay to say them. I had coffee with someone who I was really nervous about having coffee with. I talked a bit before about when we're talking about transformative justice. I said about how important it is to be in community with people who have a shared understanding of what's like happened to you, and how I was worried about like people who I'm kind of in community with who did not have a shared understanding of bad things that have happened to me. And this person that I had coffee with, I was kind of worried that they like were that. And we hung out and it was really cool. And they like, actually it's fine. And they like completely support me. Also, after the vigil, I started planning an action with some trans friends, which I can't talk about right now. But it should be a really cool one. And hopefully after it's happened, I can share.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Awesome. Cool. All right. Well, should we dive right into the news section of the stream then?
Let's get in there.
Yeah.
Fab. Tim, do you want to tell us about strippers?
Yes. Yeah. Cool. So, some of you might have seen I've been kind of signal boosting a lot of this stuff on Twitter and on Instagram stuff as well. So there was just recently, it actually happened a couple of weeks ago now, but it's taken them a little bit of time to kind of organize together and get everything going. But down in our capital city, Wellington, a strip club called Calendar Girls, which is, they've got a bunch of clubs all over the country, and they're kind of like, they have a pretty bad rep. And so they introduced a new contract to their workers, basically kind of like lowering the cut that the workers got from, you know, like everything they earned, as well as they have like a really dodgy kind of like, it's a thing that happens in a lot of clubs. They have a fine system where if you do certain things or don't do other certain things, the management will fine you, and that will come out of the money that you earn that night, and sometimes it even rolls over. So like someone like a worker could go to work and get a fine and spend their entirety of that shift working that off, and then even have to, you know, work it off next time, you know, literally starting shifts in the negative. But and so they had, in this new contract, they had ramped it up a little bit with more aggressive fines as well. So about 20 of them all kind of got together, and they were like, this sucks, like, you know, we're not gonna do this. And they just fired all of them they fired them over Facebook as well. So all of them kind of like, they got together, they started talking about what they were going to do, and they decided that they were going to fight it. So they formed a group called Fired Up Stilettos, and they've just begun. So just the other night they've been doing it this weekend. They've set up like a bunch of poles and stuff outside of the club, and they've got, you know, there's all the dancers themselves, but they've also got like a whole bunch of people supporting them, friends, family, just, you know, just general like supporters, people standing in solidarity with them. And yeah, just kind of like, I guess, occupying the space outside of the club, and you know, doing the normal stuff with like signs and everything like that, and trying to kind of like raise money, but also kind of explain why it sucks, why the system sucks. And so the management have kind of like, they haven't really made like a proper statement yet, but they did do, when the group Fired Up Stilettos did, and they did a Reddit AMA the other night, there was like people that were in the comments that maybe were the owner sort of thing. It's like been pretty wild to watch. But yeah, so they basically want, like, all of these workers, they're saying, they're like, we actually really like this job. This is a good job for us. Like, we're not, you know, we don't believe that this industry is inherently exploitative. We don't believe it's inherently misogynist, anything like that. But they're like, but we should be, you know, treated with respect. We have, you know, like, we have rights as workers that should be respected. And we're not getting that at the moment. So that's what we want to change. So, yeah, the goal for them at the moment is to, I think it was to reverse the new contracts, but also like for all the workers that are still currently working there. But also they're trying to get a little bit more clarity on the kind of, so the thing that a lot of these clubs take advantage of is that there's, as a worker, you can be an employee or you can be a contractor. And so if you're an employee, you're guaranteed certain rights, certain benefits, all this kind of stuff. As a contractor, it's different. You don't really get a lot of those things, but typically you get a lot more freedom and agency over your hours, what you charge, all these kind of things. So the clubs typically say these people are contractors. So like, you know, we don't have to pay them a minimum wage. We don't have to pay them sick leave, all that kind of stuff. You know, anything that normal employment agreement normally covers you for. If you're a contractor, you generally don't get that. But if you're a contractor, you're supposed to be able to, yeah, set your own hours, decide the own value of your labor, all this kind of stuff. Whereas these clubs go, okay, no, you're rostered on, this is your night, you work then. If you show up 5 minutes late, you're getting fined, all this kind of stuff like that. So it's like, okay, well, in that case, they're technically employees because, well, the way that it works is when you're in an arrangement with, this is purely in Aotearoa, I can't speak for other countries. It doesn't matter what you and the person that's hiring you refer to it as, like, when you enter an employment agreement, it doesn't matter if you sign a piece of paper saying I'm a contractor or I'm an employee or anything like that. There's standards that kind of like, it's more like the law defines that. So you can go into it being like, yep, I'm a contractor, everything. The piece of paper can say contractor, you sign a contract, all this kind of stuff that says you're a contractor and you're not an employee. But then if you go, if you go to court about it, the court can just go like, oh no, obviously they're actually an employee because they work, they work these hours, they do this, blah, 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 whatever like that. So you're protected by it anyway. So, it's kind of like one of those things where they want the industry to change by actually looking at these things and being like, well, maybe the way that it's worked for like the past couple of decades or whatever is like, it's changed now. The world's different. Like, it's not like the clubs are being run differently. They're being run more aggressively in a kind of like a business sense. And they're taking, like, they've always taken advantage of the workers and they've always been run aggressively in other ways. But these people are now building like these, well, in New Zealand, building like these empires, and they're really taking advantage of the labor market and the amount of people that like, they are hiring so many new people coming through all the door on these exploitative contracts all the time, and they know that they can get rid of them and someone else will come in just because that's what the economy is like. So yeah, so this group Fired Up Stilettos are kind of like, this is bullshit. All of these people, like, even in a lot of the good clubs, they're still being exploited and stuff. And while they have also highlighted a lot of the good clubs, there is one that apparently in New Zealand it is totally worker owned and run, which was like a really interesting thing to find out about, because in my opinion, and I think like the general leftist position is that anything's like this should be worker run. But yeah, so I'm hoping that everything works out really well for them. They've been getting a lot of positive media attention. It was initially no one was really reporting on it, but over the weekend, things have stepped up a little bit. And Billy Bragg was in town. He did a show in Wellington, and someone from his crew mentioned, "Hey, there's some kind of strike going down the street." So they went, "Okay, we'll go check it out." And Billy Bragg and his crew went down and supported the workers down there, and also like did a big shout out on social media. It was like, "Hey, look, this is what's happening down there. Everyone, you can go donate, check them out," which is really amazing.
Billy Bragg is
like,
so fucking cool.
Yeah, he has a huge platform, and he especially like he's been a big union guy, big labor guy for like a million years. And
I found it very funny when like the guy who wrote Never Cross a Picket Line came out in support of trans rights and TERFs all shit themselves. It's no, my guy knows what he's talking about.
Tim,
so
when you saved that, when you showed that picture of Billy Bragg on your timeline, I thought it was Jeremy Corbyn.
Oh, I was actually thinking that. I was like, man, he does kind of look like...
He was
He's got Corbyn vibes. He's got Corbyn vibes, right?
Yeah, no, they're kind of like same generation, really.
He was Jeremy moding.
Yeah. So so that was awesome. Got a bunch of attention to them, and obviously there was like a huge like TERF pushback to his post, because they hate him because he stands up for trans rights, and like to them that like they hate that. Like, doesn't matter who he is or what else he's done or anything like that. To them it's like, okay, he's instantly the enemy. So you get all these like TERFs in the comments arguing against the rights of these exploited women working in the club, because
TERFs mixing with swerves.
Never. But it's like, even beyond like normal swerve shit, where they're just like, no, these like, it's not just that they want like like the abolition of like like full service sex work or anything like that. They're like, these women deserve less rights is basically what they're saying, which is wild. But there is a GoFundMe set up for Fired Up Stilettos. They've got a goal of like 30,000 New Zealand dollars. At the moment, it is about halfway there. I'll drop the link in the chat, actually. Yeah, there's a little bit more info on there as well as their links and all this kind of stuff. But yeah, it's good. If you've got a little bit of money spare, you can send it their way. It's It's in New Zealand dollars, so I'm not sure, but like, yeah, I don't know what our currency's at the moment, but generally it's like it's a mere shadow of the pound and the
Yeah,
American dollar.
that means
So
if you chuck in £5 yeah,
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
gonna end up being like
that's the
fucking
GoFundMe.
$25.
That's not quite that bad, but you know, but basically saying that your
It's gonna
every
go
dollar
far.
helps. But
It's gonna go far, yeah.
yeah, awesome. And it would be great to see some kind of like reform in this area, because there is, even though we do have, you know, we have we don't have full decrim. We're still working on that in New Zealand. There is like all these weird caveats where people that own like strip clubs and brothels and stuff like that can still exploit the shit out of people in unique ways to those industries. So yeah, you know, like in ways that you wouldn't get in you know, like in a tattoo shop or whatever like that. So yeah, so hopefully we get some more kind of like action on this, and we get something like more like an industry-wide reform or something. Yeah, I think bigger changes in New Zealand with our sex work laws have happened from smaller groups of people. So, you know,
Cool.
yeah. Anyway, so what about Sophie? Why don't you tell me about these vigils that have been happening across the UK?
Yeah,
at the
sure
moment?
thing. So tragically this week, teenager Brianna Ghey, she was 16, was something's happening in my house. Okay. Teenager Brianna Ghey was stabbed to death in a park in Colchester by two schoolmates who were 15. She'd been a victim of bullying for a long time for being trans. It's pretty horrible, really, is the main thing to say about it. She seems like she was a wonderful person. I've been hearing a lot about how she helped a lot of people to like get onto HRT and helped them to like start their transitions. There was a really moving piece in Vice where they interviewed some of her online friends about what she was like. And yeah, she seems like a wonderful person. The police are declining to call it a hate crime, even though it very obviously was. And there have been vigils all over the country, including in Colchester where she was found. And there was one that I went to that I mentioned earlier, which was outside the Department of Education because of the way that the school system failed her. So a lot of people, just talking about like how badly like the school system let her down.
Something to point out that Disabled Jess has just mentioned in the chat that I was unsure of, but I was at the Manchester Vigil as well, and apparently you don't pronounce her name Gay. Her name is pronounced Ghey. So it's
Okay.
It's also important to know that because
okay.
that's was part of what was used to bully her. They called her Gay.
Fair enough.
You know, for obvious reasons. So just
Okay.
to correct that.
Ghey, thank you for that.
Ghey. All right. So Brianna Ghey was murdered, and it's been a bit of a horrible time in the UK media. At first, a lot of places were reporting on it and declining to mention that she was trans, and then they started to dead name her, and it's been a weird time. That we have this conservative pundit Tom Harwood who really wants to be like the British Ben Shapiro, and even he can recognize, like he tweeted like it's unspeakably cruel that she's going to be misgendered in death on her death certificate and called male. So yeah, there's a lot of anger at that. The vigil outside the Department of Education was really good. They made a point of giving the mic to trans young people to talk about their experiences in school and talk about how they're being treated. And it was quite powerful. There was a lot of kind of restless energy to do with, just wanting like something to be done. And I guess, we'll talk about that in the rest of this episode a lot more. But rest in pride, Brianna Ghey. It's it's a bit of a grim one. Kira, do you want to tell us about inflation?
Sure. So there's a growing international economic crisis at the moment, chat. Woo! The World Bank describes it as among the most severe crises globally since the mid-19th century. So right now, inflation is going way up. Lots of currencies are being devalued, particularly currencies in the imperial periphery. And so much of a lot of the world is now experiencing a very catastrophic debt crisis. These countries including Lebanon, Iraq, Egypt, Sri Lanka, and Pakistan. So in Egypt, the value of the Egyptian pound has shrunk in half over the past year while prices are going up. In Sri Lanka, authorities have just raised the price of electricity by 66% in its effort to get a bailout for the International Monetary Fund. And last year, Sri Lanka defaulted on its debt for the first time in its history.
The IMF must be destroyed.
Yes.
Yeah, this is like we talked about
true.
these on stream like a long time ago, right? This is like, you know, when the currency crashed, that's what led to like, you know, them not being able to buy gas, and you know, the gas is what kept the power plants going and all this kind of stuff. And it's like, so it kind of has this knock-on effect of, you know, like that's when we saw people out in the streets, yeah, like showing up with burning torches at politicians' houses. You know,
which is wrong, of course, as we all know.
Well, I mean, if there's all the streetlights are out, you got to keep the streets
right. You're just doing a public service.
Yeah. Like,
Your
I mean, if they
duty.
don't have any light in their house, you should stand outside with a torch directly outside of their bedroom window, just in case they need to get up at night.
And also,
there
it's really
is a gas
fun.
shortage. Gas is really expensive. You're just, you know, you're helping them out with their energy bills.
Helping the heat. That's right.
Oh my God. So Pakistan's also facing its worst economic crisis, leading to gas shortages, power outages, and rampant price increases. And in Argentina, inflation has hit nearly 100%.
Whoa.
So according to Malaysian economist Jojo Kwame Sundaram, the global economic instability is largely being driven by interest rate hikes by the U.S. Federal Reserve. Which directly increases borrowing costs for poorer countries and devalues their currencies compared to the US dollar. And also, he also says that the intensifying US economic war on China is also hurting many countries of the imperial periphery that are linked to the Chinese industry. Who would have expected this? So as you can imagine, this is bad. Some countries are now protesting against this. And by the way, if protests aren't being covered by us or by the rest of the media, it does not mean that they're not happening. This is a very common tactic, that these just like protests are just not covered. But the protests that we do, that I can speak to, is in Lebanon. Lebanese protesters attacked at least 6 banks, setting some on fire as the Lebanese pound hit a new record low. Since 2019, the pound has lost 98% of its value. And so protesters are accusing the Lebanese government and banks of failing to help the people. And then in Iraq, protests recently broke out in Baghdad over the plummeting value of Iraq's currency, the dinar. Is that you say dinar?
No, you know, I don't know. Yeah,
I think
I've
so,
heard people say different ways, but maybe it's just like an accent thing, you know, like some people say like
I'm
dinar,
probably butchering
some
it. I
people say
apologize
dinar.
if I am. But yeah, so that's what's happening, chat. It's not great. It's not great at all.
Not great at all.
Well, it looks like my next news story. It's time to talk about what everybody loves to hear. That's right. It's how Jeremy Crumbly is the worst thing in the world and he must be destroyed.
Literally George Orwell, 1967 Animal Crossing.
Well, actually, yes, unironically, isn't it? This next story.
1969, have sex with me.
Who is who is the most accurate depiction of a cartoon version of Stalin in the world? It's Keir Starmer, that's right. But let's face it, even Stalin understood the working class and class consciousness. So, you know, Keir Starmer has basically made a decision this week, saying that, we're not having any more left-wing Labour MPs. It's not happening. Jeremy Corbyn, he's not allowed to run for MP in his own constituency, which is absolutely fucking absurd. Yeah,
he's been an MP
they
for
really hate him.
He's been an MP for like 40 years. Like he's been serving this this borough for decades and decades.
He's literally the most progressive MP that you could possibly look at over the last, like Sophie says, 40 years, who has really been on the right side of history on pretty much every single issue. and Keir Starmer, who is now the only option. Now, chat, we've spoken today about, and we're going to be speaking today about trans liberation. We speak a lot of the time about marginalized people, migrants, the houseless, trans people, queer people, racialized people, and there are two major political parties in the UK. There's Labour and there's the Tories, and you don't really have much choice of getting any other party in other than those two, if you're going to vote, that is. And what kind of option do you think that the marginalized people in our society have right now in our country? They don't have an option. Keir Starmer is not going to make the lives of migrants better. He's actively said that we need to enforce our borders more. He's not going to make the lives of racialized people better. He's actively said that people are going to be he's going to be tougher on crime, and we all know that the biggest
Starmer.
The biggest victim of police brutality, etc., which is the only thing that goes up when governments say they're going to be tough on crime, are racialized people, black and brown people, migrants. And of course, he has several vocal transphobes in his party. This is not good, and this man is not your friend. Electoral politics will not save us, chat.
I cannot confirm or deny whether my planned action has anything to do with Starmer.
Yeah, and if people are going to be organizing to make a protest, if people are going to be organizing any kind of direct action against anyone who is should be really the one hope that people have of having a better life than we currently do under the Tories, then it should be Keir Starmer that's happening to. So yeah, absolutely. So just a little key points about this news story. There are other left-wing Labour MPs who have expressed private fears that they could also lose the Labour whip after this, because of course there are other progressives in the Labour Party, but there's so few and small compared to the amount of just neoliberal centrist wankers that of course they're afraid that this is going to happen. We're talking about Bella Ribeiro Addy, we're talking about Dawn Foster, I think her name is, and there's a bunch of other people predominantly women of color as well, important to note. And again, the Labour Party has still not addressed the Ford report, which exposed a wild amount of anti-black racism in the Labour Party. So, this is understandable that these folks are worrying about their position in the party. The move is also put into question the future of the campaign group Momentum after Starmer said those who did not back his leadership should leave the party. And Momentum is a grassroots group, and unfortunately they're not getting it. They're legitimately not getting it. They are saying that they're determined to remain a Labour campaign group and support Labour candidates. Maybe they'll figure it out. I don't know. Maybe one of them's watching this show. I don't know. Maybe you can take a little bit of inspiration from what we're talking about here.
Sophie, can you stop wearing your face?
Excuse me?
Yeah. Could you please put your face away?
Okay. All right then.
So yeah,
sorry
anyway,
to cut you off. It was important.
The determination of the group to remain influential within Labour is a strong hint it would not campaign for Corbyn as an independent candidate, although no final decision is to be taken until Corbyn himself takes one. The party is likely to suspend any members if they support Corbyn against a Labour candidate, though the former leader has said his initial intention is to exhaust all routes to run for Labour. But left-wing MPs have described the feeling like they're being closely watched for transgressions, with one describing as it having to watch for traps being laid for us, second guessing whether we're being set up, and allies of Starmer now hold the main levers of power in the party, and say the strategy of rejecting the mistakes of the Corbyn years, especially being tough on anti-Semitism, is reaping major rewards in the poll. Apart from there isn't actually any anti-Semitism, and it was all made up. And if you watch the Al Jazeera, the Labour Files documentary, you will learn a lot of stuff about how that was all made up. And I made a joke about Keir Starmer being like Stalin at the start of this, and there are a lot of political pundits who are also doing this. And I'm not gonna lie, chat, it sounds like he's being a bit like Stalin. Like he's legitimately just like going, yeah, we're just gonna rub you out, bro. If you don't believe in what we believe, we're just gonna rub you out of the picture, literally. So that's what we got to look forward to in the UK amidst climate crisis. You know, the cost of living, all these horrible things happening. You know.
Can I clarify because I just realized we are doing a podcast. It's not just a show. When I said, Sophie, can you put your face away? It's because Sophie was playing with her face cast. And
Sophie's got a pretty cool face cast.
She was taking her face cast that was done when she got her FFS. And then she was putting it next to some, like, I guess some human skull teeth, which I didn't know she had. And then
looks like
making it look like it was talking. And I thought, you know what, Sophie, enough is enough. Stop.
It looks like a mask from like a Hideo Kojima game, like from like Death Stranding or something like that. That's like someone would put that on their face and then it would be like Skull Face Man or something like that.
Yes, exactly. Anyway, yes. All right.
Enough about Skull Face Man.
Yeah, enough about that.
So French protesters continue to battle against pension age increase. This is something we've covered a couple times on that weird little worm thing on your microphone. Anyway,
she's been silly little goofy Sophie.
Podcast listeners, Sophie has what appears to be a tentacle hanging from
it's
her
one of those like weird little worm on a
she's
string
playing
things,
with
right?
it with her fingers.
Yeah,
I'm just trying to give Conrad an aneurysm.
Having a cat girl moment is we've been covering the French protests as they develop on Red Planet stream. So last time we checked in, there were still people were still out in the streets because they were raising the pension from just 2 years from 62 to 64, which seems like a little bit, but it's a huge amount. I mean, it's huge when you are 62 and you want to retire, but it's also that's the time that the government holds on to the money. It's sitting in a bank account generating interest, and they're wheeling and dealing with the money, whatever. Also that's 2 years that the person remains in the workforce and that they are like paying taxes, doing all that kind of stuff. So even though it only seems like 2 years, when you think of 2 years per person, it stacks up. It's like billions and billions of dollars. Older
years. These are not like young years. These are older years. Like you need
this is like
retire.
You want to retire, but they've got you like, you have to like, you're at the hardware store greeting people coming in and out and stuff. And, just like, this isn't like, the prime of your career sort of thing. What they've been doing so far, we've seen this happen a couple times, is one of the really big unions, basically, so CGT is what they're called. And we've talked about them before because they began as a coalition between a whole bunch of different leftist groups in France back in the day. It was like anarchists, communists, everyone, like they got together and they were just like, fuck it, one big union. And so they have a lot of sway in different industries, particularly the power industry. And so they've been doing things like shutting off the power to specifically to politicians' homes. And then like on other days, they'll give, like free power to the poor neighborhoods, things like this. They have been lowering the actual power output. So apparently, they're saying that this isn't enough to affect the average like working class person, like end user or anything like that, but it could affect like, like bigger businesses, things like this. And so they've been kind of like turning the knob down on power to as a way of like, this is a protest that they're doing because this is like it's a working class protest, and they want to affect the people that like they're class enemies basically, so they've been trying to stage actions that benefit the working class and hit back at the capitalist class. So at the capitalists. So they've been doing stuff like that. This last one, they say that the turnout was a little bit down for this one because I think in the past, like the street protests were on holidays, but they have there is school holidays coming up soon, so they expect the numbers to rise again. But yeah, they're on the street, their signs again. One of the best ones here was why not 69 years if you're going to screw us? Yeah,
Nice.
or other
That's the
just most-
second 69 joke of the
I know,
podcast.
yeah.
I can't believe it.
What a
There's,
sexy show you're on. My
Yeah, yeah.
goodness.
But then there's like other signs, like one saying retirement before arthritis, which is like a good point, right? It's like, you know, like when you're at that age, you're going to have like health complications and things like that. I mean, a lot of people already have, you know, these problems a lot younger, but like, you know, it's kind of like, these are the years that you should just be able to put your feet up a little bit, right?
Yeah.
So, yeah, so they're trying to maintain a steady kind of like pace of these actions to they want to keep up the momentum, keep up the mobilization against this reform. And yeah, they're saying that like the numbers in the streets aren't as important to them in the scale of, you know, what they're doing. I guess that means because they can perform these actions, you know, at the power plants and stuff with purely the workers, you know. But yeah, they're promising, they've got another one coming up on March 7th. That's the next big one. And they're saying they think that'll be the biggest yet. And they are promising to bring France to a halt. They say, we're going to block everything on March 7th. Everything everywhere must stop. So that's Jean-Luc Mélenchon, the former presidential candidate for the lefty French party called LFI, or what is it? France Unbowed, the LFI party. And yeah, that's what he said at a march in Montpellier. So yeah, that'll be interesting to see. So that'll probably be there'll be 2 Red Planet streams in between then, and it'll probably happen the day after our stream then, but it'll be really interesting to see what happens, what they mean, because of their pull in various kind of infrastructure industries. It could be, you know, like they literally could just stop France, you know. What if they turned off all the power and, you know, like just said no, like for one day, you know, and if they give everyone enough warning and stuff, then they can say like, hey, look, you know, like this is what it's come to. So yeah, really interesting to see how that will develop. But yeah, Sophie, why don't you tell us about what's going on in Texas with
yeah, absolutely,
the property stuff?
Yeah, so Chinese citizens in Texas are rightfully outraged over plans to stop them buying property. Basically, the Texas legislature, which is horrifyingly fascist, has introduced a bill, SB 147, that would make it illegal for Chinese citizens to buy any property in Texas, including homes. It's been getting steam over the last month, and yeah, I mean, it's pretty horrifying, and it's like I say. So there have been big protests. Asian residents say the legislation uses national security as a guise to further target and scapegoat the communities. They are angry, and they're questioning whether they're truly welcome in Texas, which seems like they're not. Yeah, this is really horrifying. If people aren't familiar, the GOP, the Texas GOP is absolutely fucking awful.
By the way, it's not exclusive just to China. It also includes other countries. I believe North Korea, Iran, and Russia as well. Maybe others but yeah, but it's important to just I think that the anti-Chinese sentiment is pretty profound. It should be definitely focused on. Yeah.
It's like something that's come up quite a lot. Like yeah, I mean, I guess it's like this whole kind of like Orientalist, like kind of, you know, evil Chinese kind of narrative that's
xenophobic,
been pretty pervasive, very xenophobic kind of narrative that has been like it's been a thing in, you know, the empirical for a long time. And I remember there was a lot of that growing up in New Zealand. There was a lot of this kind of thing that like people talking about like, oh, you know, all these Chinese people are going to move in and they're going to change, you know. It was like really like white replacement kind of shit, where they were like, oh, they're going to, you know, change everything. And like, even like I've seen people that have in recent years like made, you know, like on national news and stuff, they put out big stories about like, oh, you go downtown Auckland and all the signs are in Chinese, and they'll just like go to a street that is basically like kind of like, like our version of like Chinatown or whatever,
Uh-huh.
and just like look at one side of the street and there'll be, and it's like, okay, well, if you turn to the left slightly, you'll see there's a lot of English or whatever.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
our Labour Party, even a couple years back, they were trying to do this whole thing about like, because we do have they're changing now, but we've had a lot of legislation that has allowed foreign investors to buy a lot of property in New Zealand, which is part of why our housing market kind of sucks or whatever. But the Labour were trying to push back on that, and they just did it in the shittiest way, where they were like, they basically looked up all property owners with a Chinese sounding last name or whatever,
Jesus.
and they were like, look at all these, like foreign, these wild foreign people that own all our land and all our houses and stuff. And a lot of them were like New Zealanders, like 5th generation Chinese New Zealanders, or like a friend of mine who's like Polish was in there, but like his name is kind of like, I guess it kind of sounds like it could be Asian or whatever. So it's just like this thing where it's like, even that's like, like that's our mainstream kind of like center left party, the one that's in power now. That's like, like holding up the phone book, looking up for like, Chinese names or whatever. It's fucking wild. Like, this is like not just a Texas problem, this is like a very a Western kind of xenophobic thing.
Yeah, it's true in the UK as well. Like here in Manchester, we do have like a lot of Chinese students living here, and there is a reason for that, and I can't remember what it is. Someone did tell me once from like a non sort of like racist xenophobic perspective, like but yeah, like that is sometimes used as like a oh my god, all these Chinese people are buying these like student flats and stuff like that, and it's like, no, they're not. That's not what's happening. Like, they're coming over here and they're renting it like everybody else, you know what I mean, and they're studying and shit like that. Like, this isn't like, it's not some white replacement thing, and they kind of like use it as a way to be like, oh, all these new developments in town, they're like they're ruining the skyline, and it's all because these like Chinese immigrants are coming over, and it's like, no, like, you have no idea about how the investor buy to let market is ruining the country. Anyway, we've got one final news story.
Did you have more to say on that? So,
yeah. So
sorry.
The Texas GOP is pretty horrifying. I had to read through the Texas resistance to the Great Reset policies recently.
What?
Which it's part of the GOP platform in Texas. It's pretty wild. Basically, it's a bunch of stuff that's trying to eradicate trans people.
Christ. What the hell?
I'm just trying to find we oppose any state formula funding or graduation requirements of divisive curricula inconsistent with the above, including Marxist, anti-American, critical race theory, multiculturalism, or diversity, equity, inclusion courses. We oppose public funds for homosexuality, transgender, or diversity, equity, inclusion centers. Public universities should be required to complete a comprehensive program of instruction in Western civilization, American institutions, and free market liberty principles, with centers and funding dedicated to that task. Public universities should be required to comply with the above before tuition or state appropriations are increased.
This is what they say North Korea is like.
Yeah, exactly.
This is what they say North Korea is like, but they're doing it.
Those Chinese re-education
but it's
camps.
Freedom this time, so it's different.
Gender identity. We oppose all efforts to validate transgender identity for the purpose of attempting to affirm a person aged 21 or under if their perception is inconsistent with their biological sex. No medical practitioner or provider may engage in the following practices: intervene in any way to prevent natural progression of puberty, administer or provide opposite sex hormones, perform any surgery on healthy parts of the underage person. So that's an example of a Texas legislature. So sorry, my brain's all over the place. These Chinese citizens in Texas, just to say, they're rightfully angry because these absolute fucking ghouls are trying to ban them from being able to buy property. Hundreds marched through Austin and Dallas in protest of SB 147 on January 29th. Since then, the movement has only grown across the state, and last week, Wu Luo and 1,000 other Texans held a rally in Houston. Stop Asian hate and stop Chinese exclusion, some of the signs read. The bill is unconstitutional and unlikely to pass, one expert says. Legislators use these kinds of bills to just play with the Chinese community here and appeal to their voter base Luo said. Luo is, I think, Ling Luo, one of the protesters. China won't get hurt at all, and the Chinese investors won't get hurt at all. It's the people here, the non-US citizens, Chinese immigrants, who are the ones getting hurt and totally destroyed. So I mean, solidarity to the Chinese community in Texas. That's fucking horrifying, and I hope they can stop it.
Yeah, terrific. That's the thing, right? It's like, even like when it was kind of going down in New Zealand, there's like, okay, cool, that we can have like a discussion about the legislation that allows like offshore investors to kind of like invest in New Zealand property as like a, you know, like as a prospective market and all this kind of stuff. But like instead they're just like, no, we have to blame the, you know, like the Asian sounding people that live here, you know, like it's like, it's, you know, like it's like our government that creates the legislation that, you know, like if you give people some kind of like, you know, like a pathway to accrue wealth, then they're gonna do it, you know. So if you know, if you make it really if the national government and John Key make it super easy for you know, like particularly through trade deals with China, to make it really easy for people that don't even like live in New Zealand to buy houses and stuff here, then they're gonna do it, you know, like they're like, that's like easy, you know, like but instead of talking about the politicians that do this kind of stuff, it just comes down to, you know, Asian students, people with weird sounding, you know, last names to them or whatever. It's yeah, it fucking sucks. It's ridiculous. It's very, very not big brained.
Not poggers at all. Kira, do you want to tell us about the sudden stratospheric warming?
Yes,
you can do it. I believe in you.
There is the world is currently I'm gonna pull when you're not prepared for a presentation, so you just paraphrase.
You
like reword it. The chat, there is a stratospheric warming event and it is sudden. So now the world is bracing for it.
So are you saying that is a sudden stratospheric warming event, sometimes referred to as an SSW event?
That is in fact what I am saying, yes. Did you know that the SSW phenomenon is linked to the polar vortex? And this is an area of low pressure across the North Pole that forms within the stratosphere during autumn. And more information about solar radiation further. Can someone pick this up? I don't know what I'm talking about.
Okay. So we don't need to go into too much of the solar radiation kind of stuff, but they say SSW events are actually common. They occur 2 in every 3 winters, it says. So it remains unclear how climate change is going to affect these events in the future. But so it's like a low pressure vortex, and you know, like with air pressure and stuff, when it's like there's low pressure, it like pulls in other stuff, and you know, because it kind of literally creates a vortex, like an area that has to be filled, sort of thing. And that's where we get these big, you know, winds spinning around, all this kind of stuff, like I've been getting down here for the last couple of weeks. But but the thing is, if the temperatures, there's like, I'm not sure exactly what the science is, but it's like there's something that happens that can cause the temperatures to rise up really quick, which means that it's kind of like the opposite starts happening and it starts spinning around the other way and stuff. So it's pretty wild. It's like so say it's like not super uncommon, but they're getting worse. So I guess we'll see how it develops. But this definitely like kind of fits into the pattern of like increasingly extreme weather events, where it's kind of like, okay, cool, yeah, like we've always had cyclones down in New Zealand, but now the cyclones are getting worse, and now, you know, like we do have floods, but now the floods are getting worse, like the floods getting higher and all this kind of stuff. So like, you know, like areas like they're saying like in Argentina, where it's like, you know, it's normally pretty hot, but then they've had like 8 heat waves this summer, like, which is like just wild. And just an average, the temperatures are just higher than normal. So yeah, I think this is something that has like been pretty core to, I guess, Red Planet from the start, like kind of talking about how the whole like like climate change and the state of the planet is like directly linked to capitalism and the greater economic system and stuff like that, where it's like this is like this is becoming the new norm. Actually, who was it? Someone said, there was someone I saw on Twitter, I think it was someone else from another podcast, maybe I think it was I can't remember, it doesn't matter. It said that like climate change, the reality of climate change is seeing an increasingly grainier handheld phone footage until you're the one that's holding the phone. And I feel like that's exactly what I've been feeling like the last couple of weeks or whatever, where it's like all of a sudden I'm the one that's making the videos of like the flood coming up to my doorstep and like all this kind of shit like that. And it's like you're watching all these like cell phone footage and shit, and then all of a sudden it's like, hey, actually I'm the one making the video now.
Oh man, yeah.
But yeah, I don't know, it's pretty hectic. But they say that like this particular event is kind of like, it's not just like like a little storm out in the Pacific or anything like that. It's like this is like something that actually affects weather patterns across the entire planet. So it's like we could see if these are getting worse and worse, like think about just like giant storms engulfing the planet,
Yeah,
it's
it's
pretty
like
wild.
we're gonna see weather that we've never seen before, right?
Yeah. It's yeah, it's I think it's gonna become like, I mean, it already has kind of become the new normal, especially like down here. We're just like getting so used to these events now over the last couple of years. And yeah, and it's the kind of thing where it's like they always like tell you, well, I mean, like, so Met Service and everything, like that's the agency we have here, there's other overseas, they know all about the stuff and they tell everyone about it, and none of the businesses, none of the governments really take any action until it's until they have to admit that like, okay, this is actually happening on our doorstep and stuff. Yeah, it's pretty wild. Unfortunately, yeah, the only path, well, unfortunately or fortunately, depending on how you look at it,
Jojo Pep in chat saying, please, I can't do another UK heat wave. Like, yeah, the summers here have been absolutely fucking crushing recently, and they're just getting worse and worse.
Yeah,
it's been like
it's gonna be worse
between like the being hotter than ever to just being like wet and like just like it has been like flooding and stuff. It's like, yeah, it's wild. But
just turn on your air conditioner, just crank it up even higher. That's what I say.
Yeah. And it's wild seeing the actual, like with this flood, we had entire towns being swept away, like it's going to take years to rebuild some of these places. Imagine if that's happening like, once a year, or like multiple times a year. It's, yeah, it's wild. But yeah, so expect some spikes in all kinds of wild weather due to this thing coming up sometime soon. Yeah, I'm not too sure about any more of the science on this one, so I don't know exactly how it might affect particular areas or anything like that. But yeah, woohoo!
I think you did a great job, Tim.
Tim, you smashed it. Kara,
Yeah.
you also smashed it.
Oh, what?
That's what I'm saying. And Sophie also smashed it, even though she didn't say anything at all.
Oh,
because
thanks.
we're all just really based here, right? You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
Can you all tell? I just put some eyeliner on my face around here. Does it look like I put freckles on my face, or does it look like I just have dirt on my face?
I think I can see the freckles.
They look like freckles to me.
Okay.
I just want to point
I
out
see it.
Nat's in the chat saying that the fire service was straight up telling us that with the extra burden and the budget cuts, they would straight up not be able to show up every time. And the exact same thing has been happening in New Zealand. We covered it a little while back in the news. There was a big strike for all the, because over here it's like a largely volunteer firefighter service. And yeah, and it's wild. They're, like the amount of work they're expected to do purely because no one else will do it, and they kind of have to. They're like, yeah, no, like we are just going to do it. We're going to do our best to go out and do these things. So, you know, like the government goes like, oh, well, you know, like they seem like they're doing okay, right? Like they're going fine. They're doing their thing. That, you know, they do a good job. And it's like at a tremendous kind of like cost to themselves, you know, like working wild hours, doing call out after call out, all this kind of stuff. And you know, it's like a one service that I would say, well, I mean, it's one of many services that literally everyone in society benefits from having, you know, like firefighters and EMTs and all these kind of things. And
Yeah.
but continuously cut by austerity. So, you know,
By the way,
yeah,
very
but the
cool.
police budgets though. Whew.
By the way, tempura shrooms, I believe, found the quote you're talking about. Climate change will manifest as a series of disasters viewed through phones with footage that gets closer and closer to where you live until you're the one filming it.
Oh
There you
yeah,
go.
that's exactly what I was
That
thinking
is a
of,
great
but in
quote.
a much better phrased.
You did a great
So-
job
Yeah.
like explaining it. So, but yeah, that's a
So-
great quote.
Mule, do you want to tell me about the Patreon?
Sophie, I'm absolutely chomping at the bit.
But I want to. Fine,
Kira,
Kira, you
fine,
can do it too.
You know, fine, you can do it. I'll let
No,
you
it's
do this
okay,
first
Kara. You
part.
can do it.
Kira, I'm
I'm
happy with you doing it.
I was just joking.
Okay, all
It
right.
was
Well,
a
I mean,
joke.
if you want to do it,
Women,
not gonna not going
women-
to stop you. I'm not going to jump in and be like, Kira, stop it. Stop
You're
telling
not gonna be
people
like
to give us
me and
money."
jump in and say you want to do it.
Or
Okay.
will I?
You can become a Sprite, Chad. There's multiple tiers for at our Patreon, and so for just two little cute little dollars, American dollar dues a month, you can get started with your support for Red Planet by becoming a Sprite. A little cute Sprite for $2 a
Whoa.
month. Yeah.
Whoa.
Benefits include the sacred and forbidden knowledge that you are helping the Red Planet team, early access to VODs, and access to the Red Planet Discord. And one last perk, the most important perk, supporting us. The treasured knowledge, which is kind of the first point, but I wanted to reiterate. It's honestly the best reward of all, that you could be part of the main, like keeping this show alive and
It's
making
true.
it get
She's
better and
right.
better and better.
Yep.
So Sprite Mode, $2 a month. But Mule, how about you tell me about the next one? The
Kira,
next year.
I would love to. It's Goblin mode. Oh my god! We need to get Conrad like a stream deck so he can be like meh, 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 you know, like the air horns and everything, right?
Mhm.
When we do certain things. Anyway, no, that would cheapen the show.
We can even
It's
get.
never gonna happen.
Okay. Our producer says he has one, but he is not using it.
Yeah, he's right. This is why we have him, and this is why me and Kira don't run the show.
Yeah.
Anyway.
We're trash. Anyways, go ahead.
Jesus Christ.
It's Goblin mode, £9.50 a month, or $10 Everyone loves a goblin. We all get a little goblin mode from time to time. Complete your gobology by going goblin mode with everything from Sprite mode, a pack of cool Red Planet stickers for you to stick in illegal places and only places like that, and access to exclusive Red Planet Discord hangouts, one of which is happening at 10 p.m. UK time this Tuesday, which is the 21st of February, and Sophie is going to be leading a watch party watching Judas and the Black Messiah, which is a really,
Yeah.
really cool film about the Black Panthers and
I'm
Fred
hyped to watch it.
Hampton. Yeah, so it's that's going to be really cool if you can check that out. If you're a Goblin mode on Tuesday, you won't regret it, I promise. Sophie, what about that next one?
That next here, beast mode. Holy shit, are you actually gonna go beast mode? Well, then we can offer you all the stuff from the lower tiers and pin badges. Yep, pin badges. Wear your excellent new Red Planet pin badge literally everywhere. It is completely cool and good to do. And yeah, that's I just had a message from our guest. Ooh, hang on.
Yeah, someone in the Twitch chat was. Oh, okay. All right. Okay. Okay.
Okay.
Cool.
Yeah, and then Tim, do you want to tell us about the final tier?
Yo, sorry, I just sat back down. What was that?
Tim just sat down. The final tier is sicko mode.
Oh yeah, sicko mode. So I think I'm doing this off the top of my head. Is that $100 a
Yeah.
month?
Yeah.
Is that American? It's like more in New Zealand dollars. So you get all the stuff from the lower tiers. But we do like a proper shout out thing for all of our sickos on the actual stream. So yeah, like if you want us to shout you out, we'll say literally anything you want. No, actually, we won't.
Whatever
We'll,
your name
we'll
is,
say
we will.
yeah. We'll shout
Within
you out.
reason.
Yeah. We'll have fun with it. Maybe
Don't be
we'll,
fucking weird, Don't be
Yeah.
cringe. That would be
Yeah.
cringe if you did that.
Yeah. So so we got a couple of sickos, and they I mean, it's amazing. It makes such a huge difference.
Yeah.
All right, cool.
So we're going to talk about trans liberation, what it means and how we get it. And to do that, we have a wonderful guest who talks about trans stuff online. It's Katy Montgomerie. Hey, Katy.
Hey, Katy.
Yay, it's me.
Hey, it is you.
Why don't you
Hi.
introduce yourself for the people who may not know you?
Hello, I'm Katy Montgomerie. I'm a dickhead who argues on the internet, and I'm also a trans person and a feminist. Yay!
Woo!
Yay.
I feel like everyone in this on the stream is some variation of the above.
Oh, I need to just make myself more distinct, do I?
Yeah.
I'm also a guitarist in the thrash metal band. Has anyone else got that?
Oh, sick. No, not at the moment.
All right, I'm the
no.
thrash one.
I'm not
Yeah,
even
yeah,
a real
that's right,
DJ. I
sure.
just
Yeah,
made it
yeah.
up for clout. Like, it's just complete bollocks.
I've been in an industrial black metal kind of thing, but no
Nice.
thrash. Sorry. So, all right. So yeah, cool.
Yeah. So there were a lot of protests this week.
Yes.
Yeah, the one I was at, it was a bit of a confusing vibe. People didn't quite know what they were politically asking for. And I thought that's something that we could talk about on the show. Yeah, there was a bit of a vibe of like there was a lot of radical energy. People were very wanting something to be done. As I said earlier, it was very cool that they really made an effort to give the mic to young trans people and trans people of color. But yeah, there was a lot of talk of, and this is kind of a common theme at trans protests. There was a lot of like trans rights are human rights. But I think that we could, talk about like what are the trans rights that are being denied and what does trans liberation look like? Katy, do you have any thoughts?
Yeah, I feel like people are very misdirected on this, and I get really frustrated on it. Like, I mean, a good example is the Gender Recognition Act, which has been one of the major things that people have been talking about for ages, which isn't really a big deal compared to other things. But whenever anyone goes on any kind of media, like on the radio or on the TV or whatever, and they're like, oh, why should we reform the Gender Recognition Act? And people say things like, oh, well, it makes people feel nice and valid, and and it's important because of equality, and LGBT rights are good, and like there's no like tangible argument or something to convince someone. If I say, oh, we should pass this law because trans people are like they're important people, and then someone else is like they're going to put rapists in women's prisons, you'll be like, whoa, okay, well, there's absolutely no contest in this at all. But instead we should be going up and saying, why we actually need this law, who it affects, in what ways it affects people, and then being ready to obviously explain why the other side is completely bullshit. But I think with any of these protests, people say things like trans rights are human rights. Obviously we need a slogan. It's a fair slogan, and slogans can only ever convey so much information. But like, we should be saying, why do I need a fucking certificate to get married? Like, that is bullshit. Yeah. Why, when some child dies, do they have to be misgendered in their death certificate? Like, why do I have to wait 6 years in order to get a piece of paper saying what my genitals are, just so I can, get the rights that everyone else has? And I mean, that doesn't fit on the sign, but that's my overall thoughts.
Yeah, like there was a petition going around in the wake of Brianna Ghey's murder that was saying like reform the GRA so that people can get posthumous GRCs for dead family members.
So that's a good petition, but that is an example where like because some of my friends were like, oh, we'll try and make a petition for this, and I was like, right, we've got to pick a catchy slogan, and we spent some time discussing it and stuff, and then someone else did one, which is fine, and it's good people have taken the initiative. But the petition is like, allow the Gender Recognition Act to accept posthumous gender recognition. Like, no one gives a fuck what any of this means. It doesn't mean anything to anyone, and you'd have to say, do you know what? A child just died, and for absolutely no reason at all, they're going to be insulted at their funeral. Like, that's what it should say.
And we all know about the petition system that the Tories have set up, right? You know, the reason that they made this portal, if our listeners are unaware, like the Tory party were getting way too many change.org, what's the other one? You know, all these different petitions all the time. People were bringing them to, like, you know, the MPs were going, my constituents have brought this petition to my attention. And so they were like, no, we're not going to listen to any petition unless it's a properly filled out form on the gov.uk website. You have to confirm it with your email address. And maybe if it gets 10,000 signatures, we'll address it. And if it gets over 100,000, then maybe we'll debate it. But also, they just don't. Like, they simply can just choose not to do that. And it would not surprise me if the transphobic Tory government decided not to, like, you know, do these petitions, even if they did get past those signature levels. So
I find the idea of, like, go on, Katie.
Oh, I'm just saying lots of things. There was one which was, it might have been the Gender Recognition Act reform, when they decided to drop it and people got it past 100k signatures or whatever, and they're just like, nah. But I still think it has some value, because if we get a petition that if we got a petition that said stop insulting dead children at their funerals as like the headline, and they got 100,000 signatures, the government's going to do nothing. They've decided transculture war. That's not the point. The point is then all the media can go, oh, this is a big deal. Well, we're going to have to, even if the Times might have to be like, oh, they want children to have respect. Disgusting. But like, at least they'll have to say something about it.
But I found the idea of, like, the family having to collect evidence for, like, doing a GRC, like, really horrible. Like,
it's disgusting.
Yeah, don't find that to be a particularly appealing reform at all. So people, if people don't know about the GRC, like, it is, I'm not used to calling it the GRC. I usually call it something else. But it's a little license. Yeah, it's a little license to say what gender you are. Yeah, yeah, something like that. To get it, you have to submit evidence that you've been living as your gender and as your name, like every evidence from every 3 months, I think, from as long as you've been doing it.
No one has to say if they have one. I got one recently, and it was a fucking ordeal. I submitted 45 pages to the thing. They wanted. I gave like a letter from every single year that I'd come out, which was like 7 or 8 or something. But I was talking to one of my friends, and she came out in like 1979 or something, and she's like, how am I going to do this? Like, how does she prove? Like, does she just have to lie and say she came out in 2015? Because and probably, I mean, you have to lie to cis people at every single stage of the process anyway. So
yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, total bullshit.
Yeah,
I do like what you were saying. I'm interested in what you're saying about that. You know, like having, like, if you get it in the media, then, you know, like, they have to kind of like confront it or whatever. And I see, like, there's like a logic there where it's kind of like, you know, if you like name the protest something that is like really hard to argue against, you know, like if you have a slogan that is like, you know, like something that no reasonable person would find objectionable or whatever, then it's like kind of like moves the goalposts for your enemies to kind of like complain like that. Actually, we do want to insult dead children or something like that, you know, like that, like then controlling the framing.
To be clear,
and they're like, we do, but we don't. We just want to do it, you know, like we want to do it through anonymous Twitter accounts, and you know, but you know, I find that really interesting, like, you know, like as a way to attempt to, I guess, like to control the framing, because a lot of the time you just don't get that, or, you know, like a lot of the time it's like you're in such like a hurry to get something going that people don't, you know, really kind of like take that on board. And that's a great cat.
Katie just picked up, for the podcast listeners, Katie just picked up a super adorable kitty cat.
This is Poppy.
Super cute calico cat.
Oh, a
Very
baby.
lovely, and she
Is
smells very
gorgeous.
nice.
Aw.
She likes chin scratches, it looks
Oh,
like.
she does.
My dear used to say.
Oh, little squinty eyes. Oh my gosh.
She's so scrunkly. She's getting all scrunkly.
Scrunkly.
Little
She's a good
scrunkly
scrunkler for sure.
Aw.
But
Cute.
back on topic.
Yeah.
What do these transgenders want?
Yeah. So I think that this Gender Recognition Act reform is such a rubbish thing. Like it would actually be good if we didn't have to submit 45 pages and wait 7 years in order to be able to be called the right thing at a wedding. Like that.
Yeah.
That would be good. And that's kind of what we're
Ideally.
asking for. It's such a minor step, but it's actually fucking garbage, the Gender Recognition Act. Like they have a central list of all the trans people in the country.
Mhm.
Like that needs destroying straight away.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
why do we even need to beg for some fucking certificate of the government in order to get married anyway? No one
I
else.
found
has
out
to.
recently that if you get a GRC, then your taxes are dealt with by the same office who deal with MI6.
Yeah. Yeah, you have a special
your-
code and everything.
Yeah, your all your previous tax records get like sealed and managed by this office who deal with like the sealed records. And the other thing they deal with is like MI6 agents.
I had a really fiasco. I did my first ever tax return because of like YouTube stuff and like my other job. And I got an accountant to do it because I couldn't possibly do it. And
Smart.
also my company had like changed name, like halfway, and he was like, "Oh, this is interesting. Like you've only got 7 months of pay slips here. Like, where's the rest?" I was like, "Oh," and he's like, "I can't access it for some reason." I was like,
Mhm.
"Oh, okay." But I think I got around that. But yeah, like the reason I was bringing that up is because I feel like we often get caught up in these kind of little legal battle things. But I mean, ideally, what we want, or what I personally want, speaking on behalf of all of the transgenders,
Yeah,
like we want something like
that's why I'm asking you. You speak for us.
document. Yeah, I'm the chosen one. We want like document equality things where we don't have to have pointless extra burdens in order to get through life in terms of documents. But that's like a kind of minor part, really. One of the most important things we want is like access to basic healthcare, which is like a really key thing, particularly in the UK, where the healthcare here is just effectively non-existent for trans people. And I think that's one of the major categories. There's like documents, there's like healthcare, and then I think there's things like equality in society, where it would be good if we weren't attacked on the street, which actually happened to me last weekend. Was it last weekend?
Oh my god.
Yeah, which was
I'm
bad.
so sorry.
And
Yeah, I saw your tweet about that. That was fucked.
it was grim. Not the worst one I've ever had. Hooray! But so for example, some statistics I recently discovered in doing a talk was 25%, so 1 in 4 of all trans people in the UK have been homeless at one point in their life, compared to 0.8% of cis people.
Yeah.
66% of trans people, that's trans men and trans women, have been sexually, and non-binary people, have been sexually assaulted, compared to an already horrifically high, like 30% of cis women, something like 5% of cis men, which is 5% of cis men is way too many cis men being sexually assaulted. I mean, obviously 0 is the optimum number, but it's obviously a huge problem for trans people particularly. And these kind of things, like, you can't really legislate around them directly. You can't be like, oh, we'll just bring in a new law banning sexual assault against trans people, and the problem goes away. So then in that case, we need things like, and I think this comes under the banner of like trans rights or trans liberation, is like teaching about LGBT people at schools and just being like, they're normal. And it's bad to grab the genitals of a cis person, but it's also, did you know? Fun fact, bad to grab the genitals of a trans person on the street.
People in general,
yeah, they're all, we just teach that trans people are people. But I do think that there are some, we can do a science and work out what kind of things are going to benefit this.
Yeah.
But and that's kind of why you often see, sorry if I'm going off on one here, I could talk about this forever.
No,
and a reason,
yeah, go ahead.
like, it's kind of why you see the gender criticals pushing back so hard on everything related to trans people at all, even stuff that doesn't affect them. For example, the Gender Recognition Act reform. In in one sense, this is like a proxy war, and they just hate trans people and they want to argue against everything trans people. But another thing is, if it was something like, okay, well, you know, can you just let me wear a trans badge at work or something? They're going to push back against that because it's normalizing trans people, and that is a step in the fight towards trans rights, is showing everyone that we're normal. So I think like the big groups for me in my mind, and maybe I could easily be missing some, are like document stuff, because we have to deal with documents, healthcare, because that's like a huge part of everyone's life, but particularly for trans people, and then social like equality. Which is
absolutely.
Legislate
in A Nazi Word for a Nazi Thing by So Maya talks about the about Section 28 and them not being able to learn about gays and lesbians under Section 28. For those who don't know, this was a piece of legislation that was enacted for decades in the UK, and
1989 to 2003.
Yeah, it banned the teaching about LGBT lifestyles and the promotion of homosexuality. And Maya makes this point about how they were learning about the Holocaust and they couldn't learn about the extermination of homosexuals under the Holocaust because that would be implying that shouldn't have happened, right? So that would be promoting it. And so like teaching about the Holocaust was like, affected by Section 28. And the government's trying to bring in similar stuff now to stop people learning about trans people.
And now they're all in my fucking mentions being like, actually, the Nazis liked LGBT people, which is genuinely a common gender critical talking point.
Yeah.
We love a bit of history revisionism, Ernst Röhm. Yeah, he didn't exist. No, they didn't kill him. No, he actually died of natural causes. That's what happened to him.
No, he's still alive today. He's a TRA.
True. You're right.
Nazi.
That's
the
my
Nazis
bad.
love fucking trans people. Have you seen that one picture that they all show of like 4 Nazi soldiers wearing like coconut bras and hula skirts or something?
Oh my god!
And they're like,
what?
They go, the Nazis love trans people. There's the evidence. Are you denying the evidence in front of your very eyes?
I said something about Posey Parker doing a demo, and one of these TERFs replied to me, trying to stop a woman from speaking. That's very Hitler of you, Sophie. Yeah.
It is like it's so gross because it's so pervasive and disgusting and horrific and fascist, but a lot of it is just extremely laughable, isn't it? It's like how do you
This is why I love transvestigators so much. But so they're the people who think that everyone is trans, and they're like,
it's like something off for like Brass Eye or a show like that, right?
It's so good because they're like a form of transphobe, and they're all fucking hilarious because they're so stupid. But they're the ones that have no political power. So that's why I love them. They're like
they transvestigated Joanne herself as well.
Oh yes, I saw that.
A big trilogy.
He did transvestigation on a grape.
Yeah, I've been transvestigated. I've been transvestigated many times. I still am, and that's where I learned about the Q angle. Apparently, my Q angle proves that I am trans. So I guess
I can see your chromosomes from here. Come on. I think I saw when I joined the chat. It's disgusting.
They are wild. Yeah, I feel like because there was like a huge movement of people down here doing that with they were like transvestigating Jacinda Ardern, and it was like wild to see that even the people that are like just totally brainwormed out on all kinds of stuff were even like, okay, these people these are the weird ones. It's like, to be honest, like I don't see a huge difference between them and a lot of the other, like the kind of like weird like QAnon offshoots and all that kind of stuff. But it's like wild to me that that's the bridge too far for a lot of people, like
on the Nazi thing we were just saying about where it's sort of stopping even teaching about the Holocaust. I don't know if you saw, but Germany actually had a case where a gender critical person said something along the lines of, I can't remember, paraphrasing, trans people didn't suffer in the Holocaust or something.
Oh my god.
And someone accused her of being a Holocaust denier, which in Germany is quite a big claim.
I mean, that's Holocaust.
There's like actual legal kind of
ramifications. And she sued them. She sued them over it, and she lost in court. And the German court said like just came out straight and said it's Holocaust denial.
Brilliant.
Lol, and
That's
Becca
great.
had Lamau.
I've had 3 large pylons for as in a pylon of people, not pylons, of gender criticals calling me an anti-Semite because I said it's Holocaust denial to say that LGBT people weren't affected by the Holocaust, and obviously all, you know, explaining that they weren't the primary targets and all these, not just being like this is a big thing for LGBT people and no one else, but and it's, yeah, it was kind of I felt like hashtag Glinner vindicated when that happened, because it meant I was right.
Yeah, so I wanted to talk a bit about how we organize towards trans liberation, because I feel like there aren't really ideas kicking around. I feel like there will be. As I was saying at these vigils, I feel like there was a lot of restless radical energy and people really wanting something to be done. But I just don't know, what we kind of how to approach the problem, the problems rather, as you were saying.
We do.
Yeah.
It does feel very reactive. I feel like I'm not like a strategy, a political strategy person, because I kind of just want to say what's true, and then people just accept it or prove me wrong. But obviously that doesn't really work. But like I often feel like either I'm reacting to something the gender criticals have made up, or I'm reacting to some political game they've made because they've been strategizing for months on it. And I do sometimes, part of me is like, well, can we not just copy everything they've done? Just accept they're better at politics than us. Copy everything they've done. Start holding hate rallies or whatever, you know, and talking to MPs and making shell groups and all that dishonest bullshit. We could do the same as them. Have crowdfunders and just embezzle the money and then have another crowdfunder, allegedly, and or we could. But there must be better things, because that, you know, historically, they're all really like right-wing things to do.
Yes.
And there must be some historic left-wing things to do.
Yeah. To my mind, the biggest things that we can do to damage the political mainstream are to stop Labour winning the next general unless they support trans rights. Like to put pressure on them to, basically to shame them over it. I think that's like one of the biggest things we can do. There's a cool documentary people may have seen called Rebel Dykes, where they talk about some actions that lesbians did in the 80s in response to Section 28. They did a thing where they abseiled into the House of Lords to raise awareness on what was going on. It was very, very cool. And now you can't actually get into the visitors gallery of the House of Lords anymore because of them.
The lesbian Avengers went to J.K. Rowling's personal friend and gender critical activist Baroness Nicholson's house.
Ooh-wee.
And like busted in and had a picnic on her lawn and demanded that she signed some official document saying that homophobia was bad, and she refused to. Can you imagine, right? Like in 2023, if a group of trans people turned up at Baroness Nicholson's house and had a picnic on her lunch and asked her to say transphobia was bad, can you imagine what the fucking media would do? It'd be all about doxing and death threats, and
she'd release
these trans people should be in prison. And
because that happened with Rowling, right? Like someone, like she was accusing people of doxing her or whatever, when it's like her address is like public and it's like it's like she lives in a fucking castle, you know. Like,
but that I think that's like why this is so difficult, is they have such a media dominance, like complete media dominance in the UK, that when 2 people turned up outside a castle with a sign that said like trans kids deserve to live or something, that was a media loss for us, because suddenly it was about, do you believe J.K. Rowling should be threatened in her house? It's like, well, no, I don't. They're like, well, they go, end of argument. It's like, well, that isn't even arguably what happened. But that could have been, you know, turning up at someone's house and holding a sign, if they were a fucking baroness or a, you know, whatever she is, queen of something. I don't know. But like, if you turn up somewhat, I'm not saying turn up at some rando's house, but like,
Yeah.
I'm not really condoning
But,
turning
like,
up at people's houses at all.
Still,
But it
like,
could have
speak
been a
truth
media
to power,
win.
you know? It's like, I think
Yeah.
it's like, if you're a billionaire, if you're a politician and you have like this amount of sway over other people's lives, I think it's like, to me, it is like, so it's like ridiculous that they think that they should like live in a bubble where the world can't hurt them or whatever.
I
It's
should be
like,
allowed to
yeah.
destroy people's lives and then have no repercussions.
exactly,
And have
that's
a
what,
nice
that's what I mean,
lunch.
right?
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's
yeah,
like
yeah.
the,
It's like, oh no, you should be able to go, like go to a little cafe or whatever, and no one should be able to come up to you and say you're a piece of shit. Like, no, like, I mean, like, I feel like you should be able to, if you see someone that's done far less than that, you should be able to tell them they're a piece of shit in public. So, it's like,
Yeah,
the
absolutely.
bar is, yeah, I don't know. I think but it's like, yeah, I mean, you're right that they have such a grip on the kind of, I guess, like the pundit class, like the media or whatever. Like, even down here in New Zealand, it's like there's the New Zealand Herald will just like publish these like ridiculous like transphobic pieces or whatever, and it's like even against their readership will criticize them or push back on it and stuff, and they just keep going, and it's just like a handful of people that have just this tremendous voice. It's fucking wild.
There's just there doesn't seem to be any rules at all. I mean, maybe the media's always been shit and I've just not noticed because I'm, privileged enough to have escaped it for most of my life. But like just yesterday, I think The Guardian published an article about Spain passing their like self-ID law. And obviously it was just such a clear feminist win. They're like, oh, we're the first country in the world to give like days off to people on their period. And like, oh, we're doing self-ID for trans people, and we're also banning conversion therapy, and we're also letting lesbian mothers count as the mother of the child, and like all of just a huge group. And The Guardian's like, oh, they passed a controversial trans law despite protest from feminists. And then they're like,
Christ.
Other countries, they're like, some countries in Europe have already done this law, but many of them are regretting it already. For example, Finland and Sweden, who have recently backtracked. And it's like, wait, hang on. Finland passed their self-ID law literally this month, like on the 2nd of February 2023.
There's no backtrack going on there. Like,
in what, and Sweden hasn't even debated it yet. So they they only proposed it in September 2022. So it completely fabricated.
They're probably referring to the Sweden thing. There was a thing this week where Sweden.
Oh, they're not going to pass it.
No, yeah, they're talking about it, right? Yeah.
But they haven't backtracked because they haven't actually done anything. So.
Yeah, of course. Yeah. It's just reaching, right? It's reaching.
I want to point out the absurdity that like a trans person's existence is contingent upon them becoming like experts in like the legislation of the world, like having to know everything, having to track all these laws, and it's just like
you have to be able to like
what an absurd
kind
burden.
of like you have to know a tremendous amount of like just ridiculous like arguments and everything to be able to counter them at a moment's notice. It's like
we have to get degrees in endocrinology and philosophy.
Law, like philosophy is bad enough, and then law is even worse. But I have to learn all these fucking sports rules and like, I hate sports. I don't ever want to talk about MMA. Like, what you?
Why do you think I became a woman? I don't want to talk about sports.
But yeah, it is very tedious. No, like, and the thing is that passes for an argument to like liberal cis centrists, where some idiot will turn up and they'll be like, what about Finland and Sweden? They recently backtracked, and they were like, no. And like, hang on, like, I happen to know about Finland and Sweden, but if they were like, name two other countries I don't know about, Romania and Latvia recently backtracked, I'd be like, well, they may have. I don't know about the gender recognition. Well, I do actually know about it in Romania, but I don't know in Latvia. And then they'd be like, oh, well, there you go. There you go. That is an argument on its own.
I think this is like an important point to sort of mention to cis people. Like, this is why it's so important to be an actual doing ally, right? Because, we have two trans women here who are talking about how hard it is to actually like, literally fucking exist. And all the, extra bits that come along with that. And, you know, it's not hard for a cis person to, like, if you hear someone saying something vaguely turfy about, like, what they think about trans people, right?
Yeah.
If you know what's going on, if you actually, because, you know, we have more fucking energy, like, you know, even Porcelain Giant in the Twitch chat was saying, like, it's exhausting, right? It's far less exhausting for cis people. And that is why we need to be, you know, learning this stuff, learning the turf stuff, and pushing back against it. Like, I genuinely, as like a cis bisexual man, like, I genuinely do not understand cis queers who are not, like, terrified by this stuff. Like, they're not even trying, they're not even showing any form of allyship about it, because, like, under what pretense do you think they are attacking trans people? Like, if you think it's solely trans people, again, you're wrong. Like, they're coming for us all the time, like, they're coming for us too. You know, with this stuff.
In a way, the LGB alliance types makes more sense than the shrugging types, because lots of these, you know, trans people are disgusting, cis gay people. The reason they're doing this performative, like, oh, I'm not trans, I'm nothing to do with trans people, don't hurt me, because they're scared, because in some sense they can see this rising homophobia, and they think, either directly think, oh, it's because of trans people, or they subconsciously are just like, if I distance myself from all the people who are getting the flack, then maybe when the next thing happens, it won't be on me next. But the people who just aren't doing anything, like, how, I don't know, it's just like sort of turning your back on it and just waiting for the train to hit you.
Yeah, it literally
absolutely
is. It literally is. It's like, oh, sorry, go on.
I was going to say, and it's like not just gay people then, because obviously women are on the train track, and like anyone who's affected by fascism, which is like most people are on the train track at some point going to be hit by this bullshit. And like so many of their arguments are they're not just like, we can point and say, oh, this is a fascist adjacent argument, or this is what the fascists say, but it's not just, oh, they're a fascist hiding and they're letting it out in the form of gender critical, which is true for some of them, but it is radicalizing people that way. And like an example is when this J.K. Rowling thing we were just talking about, fucking hate talking about J.K. Rowling, but you know, someone turns up at our house with a sign saying let trans kids live or something, and then everyone pretends it's doxing and everyone pretends it's really bad, even though they don't really think that. Some people kind of buy into that idea. Then when the Supreme Court bans abortion in the USA and everyone turns up outside Brett Kavanaugh's house, suddenly you've just been arguing that people shouldn't turn up outside people's houses with signs. And so now you've got to say, oh, well, okay, well, I might not agree with the idea of banning abortion. I don't think they should be turning up at Brett Kavanaugh's house. And now they've radicalized you on this idea that people should be able to live in a bubble. And it's the same, like so many of their arguments. If it's like, you know, you say, well, you shouldn't be insulting children at school. And they're like, well, we should be allowed to insult any child we like at school. And then they bring in a law saying you should be allowed to insult children at school. Then they're going to be picking on the minority religions. They're going to be picking on the ugly kids. They're just going to be abusing children at school. And is that something you want to defend? Well, you have to defend it because you were just defending it for trans people.
Can't imagine Keir Starmer's takes on transphobic bullying.
Does he have takes on trans people? Does he care?
Oh, I mean,
His take
just
is quite obviously.
pro-transphobia?
Yeah, his take is quite obviously, I don't fucking care because there are transphobes in my party and I'm not going to do anything about that.
He spoke to the head of Mumsnet and he said that trans kids shouldn't be allowed to change their names without parents' permission.
Oh, yeah, I forgot about that.
Even just speaking to someone from Mumsnet, like...
Yeah, he's a horrible guy.
Rancid vibes.
But yeah, I it's like, as trans people, we can't like withhold our labor. Like I think
because we're all unemployed. Eh?
Yeah. I just like it's cool. It's been cool to see like in the last week a lot more not trans focused organizations starting to care about trans rights and to like step up a bit. There was Lesbians and Gays Support the Minors, which is obviously got a trans focus. At the vigil, that was really nice. There were some other people there as well, I can't remember, but like it was a really cool like recognition of the common struggle that we have as the most targeted groups in the UK. And
I think it's important too, like we're saying, cis people, you've got to fucking learn this stuff, true, but I guess to trans people watching, like, we have to, I know you already have to learn too much stuff.
Yeah.
But you should be at least aware of these other struggles going on, because trans people, like, it winds me up when people say like trans people are the most persecuted minority in the UK or something. Like, do you even know what's happening to like travelers' rights? Like, could you even tell me?
Yeah.
Like,
Right.
I'm just vaguely aware of it, and I'm privileged enough to it not threaten my life,
Yeah.
or you know, my livelihood. But they are a group that is being absolutely like destroyed by fucking Tory party, and they're not the only ones either. And I at least be ready, and don't start like, you know, if you're a cis person who is some other minority that is trodden on by the Tories, and then you see a load of like, you know, middle class trans people who are, you know, obviously most trans people aren't in that group, but there are some people, and they're the ones who are more able to talk about it because they have more resources. Example, me, saying like trans people are the worst persecuted people in society. You just be like, oh, I don't really,
Yeah.
I'm not
Like
going
the
to help
GRT
them.
community is experiencing genocide.
And
Yeah.
and if we're not at least prepared to listen, like that's the absolute
Yeah.
bare minimum, then they're not going to listen to us, are they? And I think that's totally justified. Like, I know that I get the feeling sometimes when someone's like, what about this issue of these people? I'm like, I don't have emotional space for another issue. We're being, but then that's what they're thinking, and that's what the other group are thinking, and then we don't build solidarity because we're all overwhelmed. Whereas if we did, we could take some of the weight off their shoulders. Like, it's much easier for me as like a white person to argue with a racist than you know, someone who's affected by it, and in the same way that it's easier for a cis person to argue with a transphobe in that sense. So
yeah, I feel like
in rant mode, sorry.
No,
I feel like
This is the
targeting the
show
media
for
would be
rants.
Yeah, this is it. This is what we're here for.
I feel like targeting the media would be a very effective strategy in the UK, at least, because we could God, my brain is all over the place. We could really use that solidarity with other groups. Like, everyone like fucking hates the media and the journo class, right? And like, we could really bring together a solid coalition of people. The GRT community would be a great example. To like interrupt the BBC. Like,
So if this isn't my place, you know, feel free to say, but this is something
Shut
that
up, sis.
I've been, yeah, you know, like, totally get it.
fucking
You know,
cis lord.
I'm gonna stay in my
Get his
lane.
ass.
But this is something that, like, I've been thinking about aside from the blatant anti-trans stuff in the media, but also like the anti-migrant stuff as well, is that like, if there was some kind of like a fund, I don't know, to like, because at the end of the day, I know not many people buy the papers anymore, like the physical fucking papers. I know they get them like delivered to the house. Like, people aren't like going to fucking, you know what I mean, like the corner shop or anything like that. But like, maybe there's some way we can make like a statement about that, like where we like either intercept the delivery of newspapers to fucking stores in the morning, stop them from being delivered or some shit, buy a bunch of papers, put them outside, stand with the papers, talk about, like, you know what I mean, have like a demonstration there outside the store and say why it's bad, put pressure on the people who supply those papers and the advertisers on the online versions of these, you know, journalistic outlets.
Advertisers
you know
is a huge one, right? Like, that's like one of the ones that really like, I mean, that's the thing, right? I mean, this is goes back to, I mean, I feel like I'm always bringing it up, but the propaganda model that Chomsky put forward in manufacturing consent. Yeah, and it's like, advertising is such a huge part of newspapers and magazines, and it's like, literally a lot of them function as businesses that, like, the advertising is the main thing. It's like, they're not selling the paper, they're selling the people that read the paper to the advertisers. So that is like a really, like, a key way to put pressure on a lot of these media entities. It's by just fucking hounding their advertisers.
Got some facts on this.
JMM1610s just said Liverpool did that with the Sun. Yeah, that's the that was the focus of my first speech, trans rights protest. My uncle was killed in Hillsborough, and like, Liverpool, if someone tries to sell the Sun like people just walk out of their shop and give them shit. Like it's impossible to sell the Sun newspaper in Liverpool.
Where's the solidarity with Liverpool from every other city?
Right,
Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah.
Like
I mean, that's great. That's just transparently good. So why isn't everyone else doing it?
I find it weird down here seeing so many places with like the Sun, like signs for the Sun. Yeah.
On the Stop Funding Hate thing, there's an organization called Stop Funding Hate, and there's an American one called Sleeping Giants. I recently did a talk on combating hate at Edinburgh University, which was good. But I got some quotes for that. So like the editor of the Daily Mail was actually changed, and they admitted was in part due to Stop Funding Hate getting all the advertisers to pull out. So they actually changed a person in part. And the editor of the Express said in an interview he was influenced by Stop Funding Hate to cut Islamophobia out of the paper, but then they got a new editor and it's back. GB News said that advertisers pulling out had limited how outlandish they could be, so it's affecting them. And the last one, there's this amazing interview. It's got like the who's who of all the American dickheads. You know, it's got like Steve Bannon and Milo Yiannopoulos and like all those kind of things. And there's like a secret recording or whatever of it. And Steve Bannon said that 90% of their revenue in 1 year was cut off by Sleeping Giants just ringing up all their advertisers and being like, don't advertise with Nazis.
Yeah, that fucking rules.
Right.
But,
That
so, like,
is so based and speak to like, oh, sorry, Kate, you got one to say.
The last thing I'll say is Richard
Yeah.
Wilson from Stop Funding Hate said to me, I've been involved in campaigning for 20 years, but I've never seen a tactic that has had such a big impact as this, even when it's run by just a group of volunteers. So
that is so like exactly right. So that's so good. Like we have to figure out if we can get these lot to help with trans stuff, right? You know what I mean? Like
I think it's like there's so many businesses that are just like they're so like they, you know, it's like they're terrified of getting like, you know, it's like the equivalent of being like cancelled or like Me Too'd or whatever like that, you know. And it's like, which is kind of funny because it's like, yeah, I don't know, like the whole thing with that is like, it's kind of like, it doesn't really, I don't think it really affects individuals as much as it now has the power to affect businesses, maybe, you know, like, but yeah, you know, like, so sometimes it doesn't even like take that much just to call up and be like, hey, look, you know, you've been advertising with this group or whatever, you know, like, because in New Zealand we've had it, there's like a little kind of right-wing conspiratorial YouTube channel and stuff, and they've had sponsors before and people have called them up and been like, oh, hey, yeah, you know, these guys that you sponsored, like, have you ever actually watched, you know, their show, and sent them a couple little clips, and all of a sudden they're like, oh shit, you know, this is just, you know, like someone that got in touch with us, they said that they did a little, you know, like just like a little news show or something like that. I had no idea it was like this, you know. So whether or not that's, you know, true, whether they did know or whatever, just the attention that it brings to them is usually too much for you know, for an advertiser. They just don't want to have their brand associated with that.
Yeah. Then there's like two ways to do this, and one is like do local stuff, like if it's your local whatever shop is advertising with someone or other, and you can go in and talk to them. But I don't know, I find that quite intimidating, and like that could backfire on you and stuff. I'm sure that works, and that probably does work. If everyone did it, then that would probably be the bigger effect. But something I've been wondering about, and this will probably get clipped out of context, but there was this kind of concept from when like Anonymous and like lulzsec and like the sort of 4chan days when they ruled the internet, of like, I can't remember what they called it. It was like the ion cannon or something. And basically their idea was you just pick one thing. It doesn't really matter what it is. One thing you don't like, and everyone fucking goes for it. Like, it's like all at war, and in it you could pick a single shop. Sorry. And this is why they were bad and did horrible things. They would pick like a single shop, and everyone would like ring them up and send them pizzas and, you know, make up stories about them and write to local newspapers and all that. And obviously they did loads of bullshit black hat stuff. But if in taking away all the immoral stuff, we had like the equivalent of this like iron cannon thing, where it was like, you know, if it was like Sainsbury's advertises with you know, GB News when they do some transphobia segment,
Yeah.
We could write Sainsbury's, and then the next day it's Waitrose, and the next day it's Morrison. If instead we're just like, right, fuck
Yeah.
all the others, everyone, the trans community, we're going all, and then Sainsbury's, I'm just using you as an example, I apologize, I'm not accusing you of anything, but if they were to, then we could just go, like, everyone just fuck Morrison's, we're going for Sainsbury's, and then it will become a thing, like it'll have to become a thing, and then all the others will be like, we don't want to be next.
So
and then,
go on.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah, so one thing about phone banking, as it's called, this is something that we do at GMTU, the tenants union, if you're unaware, Katie, here in Manchester. Basically, we will just phone letting agents or landlords that we know are like fucking people over, you know, not private numbers, but like business numbers. And we don't have a lot of volunteers in GMTU. Like, we do not have a lot of volunteers here, and it is extremely effective. Like, sometimes it can just be, I don't know, 3 people ringing the number like once every, I don't know, hour or something, and it will cause such a fuss in the letting agent or wherever it is that, you know, these people are forced to act in some way, even if it's like, so actually there was a I was talking about, like, you know, we talk about like the most base thing we did this week, and I was talking about a member that we helped on Thursday, and we did phone banking for her, and the first thing that happened after like the end of the day was like someone got in touch with her from the housing association and said, are a bunch of your friends like calling us and trying to get us to like do stuff? And she was like, yeah, because you're just not doing what we want you to do. So like all my friends are basically calling you and saying, you know, sort this out. So it's extremely effective, and I think something like this could really be organized to have a massive impact, to be honest.
So in terms of organizing it, like with like how 4chan did it, they kind of have the like hive mind thing, but then it gets momentum on their boards, and then it becomes a big op, and they all just blindly follow each other. And I don't think that's the strategy, because the trans community isn't so organized. I think when you're motivated by hate, it's much easier to just all be on board. You can easily put your disagreements aside. All of fucking gender criticals find it easy to team up against us, but we all seem to hate each other, so it's much harder. But I wonder if there was just some kind of like actual organization. I mean, even if it was just like a group of us made a website and a Twitter account and what have you, and just rather than try to follow all of it, because I know that, you know, someone like Transmedia Watch tries to follow every single anti-trans article. If we just like picked one a week and were like, this is our campaign for this month, or this is our campaign for this week, can all of our followers write a letter to, you know, this company saying, I don't approve of this, and we only have to focus on one. We even spend 2 months on it or something, and then move on to the next one. And it's just, it might give some people some focus, and people have this like spare energy, like, what can you do, rather than saying like, write to your NP about conversion therapy, be like, send an angry email to, I'll pick on Morrison's this time. You know, it might be a thing. I have thought about making groups, but I don't know. Then I feel like, am I just copying the GCs and just having like a bullshit shell group where I claim to be more important than I am, just so I can
No, I think that like if you have something like that where, you know, no one is the spokesperson, it's democratically, horizontally, you know, organized, where everybody, you know, has the same kind of stake. I mean, at the end of the day, if it's mostly trans people, you all have the same stake in it, right? You know, this is activism that needs to be done. Yeah, like at the end of the day, you know, I wouldn't worry about people maybe seeing you as like, you know, trying to do something that you're not. I would like first and foremost be like, yeah, it's actually good that you're thinking like that, because that means that you're not gonna be that person, right? Yeah, it's yeah, again, like phone banking, super effective. You can do it from your house. You don't have to be outside or whatever. And you know, I think that like I would definitely be down for doing something like this, because at the end of the day, it's actually really easy. And in fact, this is something that we did a while ago, right? Like I can't remember who was the initiator of this, but like the Lily Cade thing and people writing complaints to the BBC. And, you know, even though that wasn't like that effective, the advertiser thing sounds surely more effective than that. And we
The
were able
BBC are
to,
much more immune to it than
right,
most.
right. And but also like in terms of you know, how easy it was to mobilize people to do this stuff, then potentially there's a lot of good stuff that could come of it, right?
I
Yeah.
I was gonna say, I personally really love the idea you're proposing. One of the reasons is because it allows for actual results to be like visible results that can be celebrated by like a collection of people. Because right now, like as it stands, it seems like there's a lot of requests to like write letters and doing this and that. But it's not it's not like a centralized, this is what we're doing, like you're describing, which leads to a lot of efforts everywhere, but no like payoff, you know,
Not the
like
iron cannon thing. Yeah.
yeah. And I think like seeing this concerted effort made and then seeing an actual payoff, which I feel like it was way more likely to occur if everyone is, you know, focusing on like one particular business, for instance. I think that would not only be effective in reaching the goal, but you're stating, but also in building morale and building a sense of like community, like communal effort, actually getting results. I think that's a fantastic idea personally.
So I think, yeah, and your point about results is really important, because when you say write to your MP about conversion therapy, write to your MP about Gender Recognition Act, we all know that is not going to do anything. Like the Tories aren't going to pass those things. That's not going to happen. If it's going to happen, it's going to be in a future government. And not only that, but likely they will attack trans rights. And it's so demoralizing. And when it's like, write a letter to your MP, like maybe it will do something, maybe you'll win over your MP, whatever, but like it feels helpless. Whereas if we were like, let's get Sainsbury's to stop advertising with GB News, like that's a real thing that might happen. Like that could, and so you're really right on it, like building morale and stuff. Yeah, it's interesting.
Yeah, to diminish the screaming into the void feeling that I think a lot of us feel, you know.
And I think there is like, there's the potential for a kind of, because I mean, for most people, it's relatively like a mass campaign where everyone's just like, you know, writing a letter or email or whatever to, you know, a particular advertiser or whatever is relatively low effort. I mean, like, I have seen in the past people will like make a template, but I know that a lot of people these days can filter out a template. Like we even have a thing for when you're petitioning Parliament, if up here, if there's too many that fit a template, then they just completely, you know, disregard all of them.
Yeah. But
just to write a short, you know, email or a letter or something like that, whatever, even just, you know, like a social media post, something like that, I think is pretty, it's like something that anyone can do. And, you know, you see this before, like, you know, people will like just set up like ridiculous campaigns to be like, I'm gonna like, you know, we're gonna fucking ratio Elon Musk or some shit like that. And it's just like, it's so easy for people to just go there and just like write a comment, click a thing, whatever, like that. And it's just like, imagine if we were doing that for something like more tangible, like in the real
cost someone
world,
money.
you know?
Yeah, if it costs someone money, it'd make a difference.
I went to talk to my MP about trans rights, and he said that he'd had a visit from some concerned parents of a trans kid, and that they were his constituents too, and he had to care about them. Yeah, MPs suck.
Yeah, it's very tedious. Someone I was talking to the other day wrote a letter to their MP, and then the MP wrote back recommending some like Helen Joyce book or whatever to them.
Jesus.
So
yeah, my MP
so
said
bad.
if you experience a hate crime, make sure to report it.
Yeah, the police
problem solved.
Awful advice.
Famously the best friends of marginalized individuals.
Yeah.
I've got a lot of energy to like do some organization thing. I think if we, so Sophie, I didn't, when you were out the room, we were just saying about creating
I have
some
my
kind
headphones
of...
on.
Oh, okay, Mega.
She heard us all. She hears all.
Even the insults.
That's right.
Yeah, but making some kind of thing might be good.
I would be 1,000% down to join, and I'm pretty sure Red Planet would endorse wholeheartedly.
There was a group in France called ACT UP who invaded media offices to try and talk about the AIDS crisis. I think that's like quite a powerful action, like getting, yeah, like I think they went in via just like tours of the offices, although it could be confusing that with Rebel Dykes. Yeah.
Just like you're the dude who gives the tours around the office, and just like 40 trans people turn up one day, just like, we just really want to see the Times' HQ. Just interested in publishing.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
What's over there?
It could be
Is that
possible.
office? Is that
It could easily be possible, right? Yeah.
I think it'd be like in Star Wars, it'd be like, we don't serve your kind in here. Who's got a question then? Question me, team.
Oh yeah, well, yeah, that's the chat. That's so bad.
Yeah, chat. We log the questions that chat writes, and then we do a whole question thing. But if we want, we can start right now.
Oh no, we can carry on. Whatever. I thought we were doing questions now. That's fine.
Oh no, not at all. Sorry, that's my bad. I completely, yeah, because okay, yeah. So normally we ask questions at the last half an hour. I was under the impression you only wanted to do an hour, but if you wanna...
basically, I just did a 2-hour call-in show which started at 7. But I still have energy. We're having a good conversation. I can keep going. So
cool.
Awesome.
As long as you're comfortable, that rocks.
My makeup's slowly sweating off under the studio lights, but I'm surviving.
Yeah, like it is so, like, I think just going back to the sort of like why it's so important to target the advertisers of media in general, and the media, like Sophie said, is because, you know, these are where people sort of like pick things up on the grapevine. It's actually like rare, even people, right? So my mum gets the Times, right? And she said to me literally today that she will never, ever, ever, ever see my partner as anything other than a woman. And she's a trans woman and she knows this, right? And it's like, so, okay, so the Times is being extremely ineffective with her, even though she buys it, right? So it's not fucking working. So I think the way that these things work is that if people are not like actively hateful, they pick these things up on the grapevine. For example, a friend who is like not very political was round helping me film for my next video this week, and told me that he was in a group chat where people were talking about people being pushed to the Tavistock. So the whole Tavistock thing, for anyone who doesn't know what this is about, gender criticals and TERFs have this just horrific ideology, this horrific made up fear that people in the Tavistock are pushing people, specifically they focus on people with autism, which is problematic in its own way, into transitioning. Basically it's the gender critical conspiracy theory. And my friend was talking about this, and it was very fucking easy for me to turn around and say to him, bro, that's fucking bullshit. Like, what are you talking about? Like, that not only has this like never happened and not even measurable in any way whatsoever, but the Tavistock is closed, bro. Like, it's actually like closed recently.
Still
like
erasing the gays.
Do you know what I mean? It's like, and there are no replacements happening. Like, do you and I'm saying to him, I'm there and I'm asking him, like, do you genuinely believe this? Do you genuinely believe that there are like these mad scientist doctors they're going, ha ha ha,
yeah,
it's time to trans the children? Like, it's nonsense, bro. Like, what you... And he was like, yeah, fair enough, man.
I think one easy, if someone wants like an easy argument strategy, because you maybe don't know what the Tavistock is, and someone says they're trans and autistic people, and you're like, oh well, I don't really know all of it. Every single one of the arguments, you can just be like, oh, did they say this about gay people? And the answer is yes. Like, gay people are more likely to be autistic, and autistic people are more likely to be gay, and same with trans people and autistic people. Like, that's just a correlation we have for whatever reason. And like, so if someone's like, oh, they're trying to trans the force transgenderify autistic people, you can be like, well, are they trying to do that to gay people? Do you believe that? Like when fucking Republican wackos say that to you, are you like, oh yeah, maybe that's true, or are you just like, that makes literally no sense?
Yeah.
The media is not popular.
Right.
They
Right. This is
I think that the GB News is a demonstration of that. Like the people really want like they want news from people who acknowledge like GB News on the face of it seems like it's so reactionary, and it is. But I don't think that's the big draw for it. I think that people are drawn to GB News because they don't trust any of the mainstream news, and they want news from people who like get why that is.
Can I just, while we're talking about GB News, this is real, by the way. This isn't a joke. This actually appeared on their fucking thing. I got nominated on GB News for the Greatest Britain.
Oh wow!
What?
One of their presenters. Literally, real happened. I can.
Well, there you go.
If you want to see it.
I want to see it. I'm gonna watch it on my stream tomorrow. Please send it to me.
Okay, it is mad. So basically, they have like 3 presenters, and they're like, who do you think is your greatest Briton? And the first dude's like Kemi Badenoch because she's putting it to the woke people and getting rid of these transgenders. And then the next person's like, there's this child who climbed some mountains to raise money for charity, like, which is an incredible achievement. And then the last person's like Katy Montgomerie. I was just like, what?
Incredible.
And then it's hosted by Dan Wootton, and Dan Wootton personally hates me because I humiliated him on Twitter once, and he had to block me and like block everyone who was liking my tweet and stuff.
Amazing.
And so he's like, and moving on, and that's just like so quick. He's like, it's obviously Kemi Badenoch. Moving on. Anyway, it's just so funny. It's
yes.
like, well, there you go. So I'm in the top 3 greatest Britons of all time, along with a child who actually did something good. And the worst person in the country.
the GB News is, and you're right, Sophie is a great example to bring up, because if you think like when GB News first started being a thing, I was like, right, okay, I have to stop this. Like it's my mission to stop this. Like this country is so bad. The last thing that we need is something like Fox News. And I started looking at a bit of it on my stream, and I noticed after a while that they have Neil Oliver, the guy from Coast, on.
He's so funny.
But he's turned into like a wacky Willy Wonka, like, I don't know, he believes in conspiracies, he believes that everything is COVID related, and he just won't shut up about that, and it's so upsetting. Like, I used to watch Coast and be like, yeah, this rocks, like, it's just a nice relaxing thing to watch on a Sunday night, and now Neil Oliver is just, I don't know, he's like the Alex Jones of Britain, isn't he? Like, sort of similar, like, God, it's so bad. But yeah, like
what I love about him is where he does these, like, he looks at the camera like direct on, and then like it zooms in a little bit, and he's like, they're trying to ruin your life, and he does this really heartfelt speech, and then it just gets wackier and wackier.
It does escalate. Like, he starts off, because that's how he does it, right? I feel like he must have like watched people who are good at convincing people before, because what he does is he tries to lead you in with like a very normal statement, like 1984 is bad, isn't it? And then later on he'll be like, well, that's why we shouldn't have vaccines, because they're transing all the kids, you know what I mean? And it's like it just goes wacky, and oh yeah, it's so very thoroughly upsetting.
Worth watching. But yeah, it's a good point that, like, I was kind of scared of them, and I was scared of like all the media, like the Daily Mail is read by the most people, and like the Times is still considered respectable unbelievably, and I was like, man, they're pumping this stuff. The Times did 3 anti-trans articles today. And at its peak, the British media was putting out, I think, 88 in a day, in a part of 22 across the mainstream media. I've got this chart actually, which is perhaps I'll put it on as my background.
They did that one that was like the Tavistock's erasing gay people earlier today.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, the like targeting and erasing gay people. But then you're right, like, how effectual really is it? Obviously the fucking wackos believe it, but the gender criticals already believe it, and they didn't. I think you know, they're not being convinced by arguments. I mean, I think we all know that's true. So they're being brought in emotionally, and reading some story about, you know, how whatever is going on, they don't really care. All they want is this kind of gut reaction horror
Yes.
thing.
Yeah.
And it's things like, there's a man in a women's prison. Imagine being locked in a room with a rapist. That's the thing they go. And the other thing is they're harming your children. But if you're not won over by that, and if you just like, oh, hang on, what's actually going on here, then it's not really going to work on you. So I guess I'm still right now at the beginning of teaching myself to not panic about the media saying something bullshit, because it is more toothless than it appears.
Yeah, and that's why I think that a media protest could go down really well, and like they would have a hard time reporting on it. I think we could build. Well, they wouldn't, right? But like I think we could build really solid solidarity with a lot of people, and a lot of people would be really pissed off at the media. Yeah,
I mean, perhaps we need to find, I mean, immigrants are another group the media is really going after at the moment.
Yeah.
What are the other main ones? Maybe
GRT.
We need to pick, find some, what am I trying to say? Alternate universe version of this crew here, who is currently arguing about those things, and bring them all together and do a team effort. Fuck the Times.
Young people.
Huh?
Young people.
Oh yeah. The British media class hate children. They fucking hate children so much. It's so weird.
Sarah Ditton does.
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah,
what
absolutely.
is it with this country? It's so depressing.
I can't wait to visit y'all.
Young people.
So glad I'm planning on
I'm gonna
visiting
show you
y'all.
the nice bits.
The
joke's on you. There are no nice bits.
Yeah.
No, there are some nice bits.
Yeah.
The further away from the people who read the Times, the better.
Very true. Very true.
I'm just
All right, I
gonna.
Sorry, I think we have a decent list of questions right now. Should we get started on them, or should we?
Can I just try and get up one picture because it's relevant to this topic, and then we can.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
I have it.
If you want to drop it in the chat, I think.
Look at that. That's perfect.
Brilliant.
So this is a correlation, not causation. I'm not saying that these two things are caused, but I think there's a pretty suspicious graph here. Here is hate crimes in the UK against trans people in red, and the number of anti-trans articles per month in blue. And as you can see, they're both going up and they're getting faster. So that's pretty horrifying. But yeah, this peak here, where there is in 1 month 1,100 anti-trans articles in the mainstream British press, is it's truly unhinged, isn't it? In what world?
We're 1% of the population. Like how do they have this much to say?
It's unbelievable. How I always think of this thing, I feel like there's a few classic trans adages, and one of them is men treat trans women in public how they treat cis women in private. But another one is, once you post transphobia, you don't go back. And I genuinely think it seems to rot people's brains in some way, where they just can't. Some of these journalists only write transphobia now. That's their job.
Right. Yeah.
To write 2 transphobic articles a week.
Yeah, it's obviously something, and this was something that was voiced about in the vigil. I went to the Brianna Ghey's vigil in Manchester, and there was a parent of a trans kid there, and all she was talking about was parents of trans kids are all the time terrified by all these different articles that come out, and it's at what point is the life of my child gonna get so fucking bad? Do you know what I mean? Due to the fact that these articles exist, the life of my child will be at risk. Not that it will be so bad; it's already bad.
Man, that Onion article just absolutely nailed it. Did you see
Oh,
the
is it?
one?
Yeah, yeah. I haven't seen this. Like, I saw people talking about it today.
It was like,
Um,
it's a journalist's sacred duty to cause as much harm to trans people as possible.
Right, right.
Absolutely
Yeah.
nailed it.
Yeah,
That's really
like
funny.
they are extremely obsessed with trans people, and you know, it's just it is disgusting. And I wonder how similar it is, because again, you mentioned the Daily Mail thing, and they had to stop Islamophobia, right?
Tone it
I
down.
I wonder how much.
They never stop.
Right, exactly. I wonder how much of this is reminiscent of those types, because I remember the campaign against not just the Daily Mail, but all the same rags, the same fucking hack job journalists in some cases, you know, back in the day, about Islamophobia in these institutions. And so, like, you know, I wonder how similar the numbers are. Like, you know, were they publishing 1,000 anti-migrant articles a day at one point? Were they publishing
Could have been,
1,000
yeah.
anti-Muslim you know what I mean? It's like, it
And
would
it's
be
probably worse. I mean,
right. And it's like, so I think that's an interesting thing to just think about, because it's like, well, if a targeted campaign about stopping hate in the media, like, well, didn't win entirely, but like was extremely effective for that, then we could be very hopeful for a similar thing, right?
that is true. Yeah.
So,
Ugh.
with
Hey,
that,
sorry, just on that number, this says
yeah,
78%. This is from The Guardian, Wretch.
mm.
78% of the stories featuring Muslims have negative themes, and that's based on an analysis of 11,000 articles in 3 months
11,000 in 3 months.
of
That's
2018.
wild. Yeah.
So
There was a similar thing down here with the New Zealand Herald in regards to articles that it was publishing about Maori, and it was like they had to do this big public apology, and they put a big thing on the front of their cover saying that they were going to do better and they weren't going to be
good.
shit, and that they'd had this big review or whatever like that. And then it's like absolutely nothing has changed, but now they have, like, you know, like pretended that they felt bad about it once, I guess. Like, yeah, it's fucking wild. Like, yeah.
So we have a very lot of questions now. A very lot.
Lot.
Yeah, listen, that's the correct English. Yeah, all right.
You're the expert.
So I am the expert. That's right,
Okay.
Tim. Thank you. I invented English. It's my language. So let's crack on. We have a question from Mannequin first. And Mannequin says, Katie, why are you the best? That is my question by.
In capitals.
In capitals as well.
Yeah. So you have to shout it.
It's a very aggressive question.
I
Why are you the
will
best?
Pay you for that compliment as we arranged beforehand after the show. Thank you very much. I'm not the best. Like top 20 maybe.
Yeah.
I'll take that.
You did
Right.
hey, Greatest Britain. You were in the top
That's
three.
true.
Yeah.
I'm
That
not the
is
best.
true.
The best is Kemi Badenoch.
Yeah.
This is my only real superior.
All right, there's another next question is from this Dungeons sub boss. Katie, is thrash metal the best metal? If so, why?
Yeah, it
Oh.
is. This is dangerous. This is dangerous because of my nerd out extreme knowledge topics. I think there's LGBT rights and feminism, and then I think there's like insects and parasites, and then I think thrash metal is the top. So just
Do you think
be
that there's
watched.
like a crossover between thrash metal and insects and parasites? Do you think?
Not enough. Thrash metal is the best because it's high energy. It has a good level of like violence in the mosh pit, where it's not really violent. It's just kind of running around pushing people. It's really fun. It's often anti-system, even though lots of the people who sing it are kind of garbage people now.
Yeah.
it
That's
often
wild though,
just-
right? Like a lot of really classic, like, I mean, I think of like a lot of like late 80s, early 90s kind of like thrashy stuff was like, there was a lot of like anti-imperialist kind of themes and like anti-war kind of stuff or whatever. And then it's kind of swung around with there's like a lot of these American bands. And in some cases, the same people who have just swapped around to being like, actually militarism rules.
Yeah,
And,
like Dave
you know, we were
Mustaine.
singing about war before, but in the bad way. And now we're singing about it in the fun way, It's
Yeah,
just-
Dave Mustaine's such a good example of that. And so is
yeah,
also,
yeah, yeah. He's wild. I've
Tom
met
Array
him and his
is-
family a couple times, and they are like
Really?
wild people. Yeah, him and his I can't remember his wife's name, but his son Justice Mustaine. Like
Yeah.
how fucking Mustaine is that?
Tom Array is like so he's a singer of Slayer.
Yeah,
He's
yeah.
a like homeschool evangelical slash.
Yeah, yeah.
I think he's actually a Catholic, but I think he's one of these like homeschool, don't trust the government types.
Yeah,
And,
yeah,
like,
yeah.
super religious. And then like one of the most famous songs is "God Hates Us All," where he just
Yeah,
screams,
yeah.
"God hates us all." It's like, okay.
Because he's
Yeah.
been like reborn for a while, right?
Mm.
It's yeah. wild.
Another interesting one that I found. I know it's not thrash metal, but like I didn't know that Motorhead did a song called "Eat the Rich."
Oh yeah, 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 yeah. That's a
Yeah, like
banger.
I
Yeah,
had
yeah.
no fucking
But
idea. I found that out
let
like
me-
recently.
One of his greatest things is he never like sold out in that way. Like he was literally
Yeah.
just an 18-year-old
Lived in
boy
that tiny
until he
little
died
flat.
in his 70s or whatever. And he was just
Yeah.
like, fuck the system, get drunk every day. And there's pros and cons to his life, but like he didn't sell out in the way that pretty much all the major thrash bands did,
yeah,
apart from
True.
Exodus.
yeah. Nice,
Okay.
nice.
Next
Fanboy
thrash metal
is-
question, please.
It's unfortunately it's not a thrash metal question. Fanboy is Transboy says, how do I convince people to actively do things with me? I get a lot of ideas about what I want to do, but my friends tell me I need to calm down and do something else.
Hmm,
Oh, like as in organizing stuff.
Yeah.
hmm.
Yeah, it is difficult. I get a lot of people message me, and sometimes people are like super high energy and they want to do something right
Yeah.
now. And I don't want to be like this, like the old person who's like, nah, chill out, like it won't achieve. Like sometimes it's good to find something that's already existing and to use your energy on what they're already doing, not because their idea is better than yours. Maybe you've got the best idea, but when they've got like they've got the momentum for a start, so
Mhm.
they're already doing things, and it's good if you can just come in and like they're all probably burned out and tired, and you can bring in some energy and keep their momentum up. But also they've probably got the organization and the contacts and the
Yeah.
knowledge for some of this stuff. Like if you're like, oh, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to write a letter to every MP in the country, and then like, right, I just need help. What are all their addresses? And they're like, well, maybe if you like got involved with campaigning for Stonewall or someone like that, they already know all the MPs, and they probably go
Yeah.
to their dinner parties and do middle class cis gay stuff with them. But
Yeah.
so that's one thing. But I guess the other thing is like, if you're telling your friends and they're like, nah, chill out, then come talk to us. I don't know.
Yeah.
If I don't reply to your DM, it's because I get so many. But like, there'll be people ready to listen and see if it's already
Yeah, yeah.
going on. And
Hmm.
but yeah, maybe we'll make this thing we've been discussing, this stop funding transphobia, and then
Do you know?
get
Do you know
involved.
about POT? Pissed off T-word I'm not allowed to say on Twitch, and their
No.
action outside the AHRC? Yeah, a while ago, some trans people went outside the AHRC and left a bunch of bottles of piss. And,
Oh yeah, no, I did see that. Yeah.
yeah, it was good fun.
That's right. Because yeah, like you want to push people out of public bathrooms. Like, what do you
expect?
what do you expect?
That was an interesting
Piss
one because
I've
that
heard
ended
they
up kind of being a non-media event, and I wonder if that was a success because the GCs were all like, they're covering themselves in piss, this is a massive win for us. And then the news didn't really react to it, and I think the gender criticals were kind of shocked as like, why isn't everyone laughing
Yeah,
at these people
yeah.
fighting for their freedom like we are? And
Yeah.
and maybe that was a good sign that that kind of action where you're doing something incredibly annoying but you're not harming people is good, like gluing
Mm.
yourself to a floor or friend pasta over a painting or something.
I've heard they are planning something new, so
Ooh.
something to watch out for.
Ooh, interesting.
Anyway,
Okay, well, what we got
Frongy
one
Chair.
from
Yeah.
Frongy Chair wants to know, how do you gauge if someone is too turf brainwormed to try to rehabilitate by debunking rather than just walking away and saving your mental energy for someone else who could potentially change their mind?
Yeah, so I when I started doing like advocacy for trans people, I guess how you could say it, when like 2016 or whenever I made my Twitter, just started arguing with people. I kind of had almost a utopian view. And one of my heroes was this guy, Daryl Davis, who was a black man in America who makes friends with Ku Klux Klan members. And he like he has successfully de-radicalized several Ku Klux Klan members, and he has their robes in his house as like a thing of like, you know, you just got to make friends with these people. And I just thought, I just got to make friends with these gender criticals, and I can do it. Like I can find the best in anyone. I can absorb insults like there's no tomorrow, and have a lot of stamina for arguing with people. So I was like, this is, you know, what I'm good at. And I did do it for years, literally like 5 years of my life. I spent talking to gender criticals and trying to a good faith attempts to de-radicalize them. And I tried all the strategies, and I daily DM'd some people, you know, I talked to people on the phone. I had video calls with people. I, you know, joined their group chats and all kinds of stuff. Like I did all the things, attempted all the things, short of like moving in with one of them or something. And I think the conclusion I recently come to is the gender critical movement, if they are a gender critical person, is too far gone. They have too much momentum. Their worldview is too disconnected from reality. And I think if it's someone who isn't your family member, or someone you live with, or someone who you work with, someone who you see every day, you're fighting against, like they have this radicalization machine. Like they might talk to me for like 2 hours in one evening, then they just go on Twitter and there's like, you know, rapist in women's prison, you know, child life destroyed, like and their emotions get back up, and everything I've just been doing is kind of like overridden by the panic. And I feel like there are some who did de-radicalize for sure, but the amount of energy I put in, like thousands of hours of my life to de-radicalize tens of people, compared to me writing something on Twitter in front of 80,000 followers or something, that is way more effective, and it's less effort. And it's hard to explain how emotionally demoralizing it is for someone like some of these gender critical people, my friends. I literally talk to them every day for months, and some of them, when I met them, they were like GC light or maybe in the middle somewhere. And like a couple in particular, I remember one lady who, she was kind of nice and was just like, I kind of bought into the I just have some concerns kind of thing. And I ended up having to block her because she started saying that Nazi was a slur, and that there was like there weren't any Nazis today. And I was just like, you weren't like this 6 months ago, and we were friends 3 months ago. And now I was like, I can't. And I was sad about that for like a week.
I'm so sorry.
It's grim. And just some American lady I hadn't met before, so it's not like it was a family member, but I've had tens of these, and it gets to the point where you're just like, this isn't worth my time, but also not worth my emotion or investment. So in terms of, to answer the question, I think if it's someone who you care about in your life, then it's worth putting in the time. And you know, if it was my family, I would do the 10,000 hours if I had to. But if it's a random, I don't think it's worth it. If they are gender critical, if they're saying the gender critical slogans and they're doing all the, you know, when someone's gender critical, you click on their I love JK Rowling hashtag or whatever. If they're doing that, they are effectively beyond, and you're not going to reach them. And the best thing you can do is to provide the counter information once clearly for passers-by, and then move on to someone else. And that's what I do now, and that's what I recommend for others. And that's from my personal experience. I'm not saying I'm necessarily right, but all I can say is I know in my heart, I know that I put in the most amount of effort that I could humanly do to de-radicalizing people, and it does work 1% of the time or less. So it's grim, and it takes months. You got to be in there for the long run. And also it's kind of controversial because then you're making friends with the shittest people on earth. It's like, why'd you follow this person? It's like, well,
I kind of got a thing I'm doing. I imagine
de-radicalizing.
I imagine that last question was from Frongy Chair. Is that right?
Yes.
Yeah. So
Next
the
one
next
is
one is this Dungeon
Yep.
sub boss, who asks, if there's no local organizing option that seems safe for trans people, how would you go about specifically starting social organizing? I was thinking of starting a safety program specifically to make trans people aware and armed, but I have no idea how to start. Any advice?
Yeah, that is difficult, and I don't know. I've been thinking about that recently. I wonder if it's just a case of like just starting, like just ship it, like MVP. You know, if you want to do a thing where you're doing safety classes for trans people, then maybe just literally post on Facebook, I'm doing safety classes for trans people. Like just get your friends to come along and say, can you come along? I'll give you free classes. And then once you've got like your three trans friends coming and post about it on the internet, maybe someone else will come, and then maybe it's going.
Yeah.
If you can find like a, you know, or if you have the skills, or if you know a trainer that is like willing to help you or something like that, it could just be as easy as being like, you know, getting in touch with friends, being like, hey, look, we've found a space, and we've found someone that's going to come, and they're going to, you know, teach us all a little bit of jujitsu or whatever like that. So, you know, like, you know, telling your friends like, hey, and if you've got any friends that want to come as well, you know, tell them to come along. And yeah, like, I think it's like, I think a lot of times people do sometimes kind of like overthink organizing things like this, you know, like, and I guess this is like more like something like you're organizing a class as opposed to like organizing an actual like organization, like, which obviously requires a little bit more kind of like plans and structures about, you know, like your long-term goals and all that kind of stuff. But if it's just like, hey, we just want to get together and talk and learn about some stuff, you just need a time and a place and, you know, like a bunch of people. And yeah, I think it's kind of daunting to do stuff like that, but I feel like it's like all there is just to do it, right?
Yeah, I think you just have to make mistakes, and that's fine.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, and know that it might be kind of weird and awkward the first time or something like that, but
just accept your fate. You're going to screw it up. It'll be fine, then you'll be better next time.
True. That's very true. Great advice in general.
I mean, the worst case scenario is you accidentally train a trans supremacist super soldier who destroys all of cis kind. I mean,
whoops.
Yeah.
Like Fist of the North Star, but trans, and you've just got this like, you know, it's unstoppable fighter to deal with.
I think I know her.
So cool. Yeah.
All right, should we do the next
we got
question?
another one from
Go on,
Infotoxin saying,
go ahead.
No, that's all right. Yeah, you can do the next one. Okay. Question from someone unfamiliar with how exactly it works. What would it take to make British media fundamentally not like this? And then in brackets, i.e. not a corrupt inner circle of rich pricks helping each other.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I wonder if the media in general is tending more towards this rather than away from it. Because, you know, if the media is kind of dying to social media, then what is there left other than clown billionaires who want to turn something into their personal like vanity project?
Yeah.
It might just get worse. It might just be it might be no way. I don't know if it's salvageable or not. I mean, because like something like The Independent, like, oh, we're going to be independent, we're doing a new left-wing paper, and then they're like, oh, we've been bought out by someone or whatever, and then they start becoming
bought out by
centrist.
Murdoch, and
I don't know if this person is new to Red Planet, but we're big advocates for the end of capitalism.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing, right? Like, it's the media landscape is kind of shaped by the economic system. And I mean, I think I've already mentioned it once, you know, like, so yeah, take a drink or whatever, but Manufacturing Consent by Chomsky and another guy talks about like why media is the way it is, and a lot of the examples that it uses in there, I think it would pretty prescient. There's a lot of stuff about the New York Times that back then they were talking about the war on terror, but now it's like the New York Times is doing the same kind of shit, but they're talking about like trans people, they're talking about, you know, other groups and stuff. And I think that is like that's probably a great place to start if you want to get a good understanding of the way, because a lot of people will think like, oh, the media is anti-trans because there is like an evil man at the top and he hates trans people and he, you know, pulls the levers or whatever, which isn't exactly how it works. Like I actually know that the guy who is the editor
You're
of
going
the
to see
New
actually
Zealand.
know Rupert Murdoch then.
He's-
Oh no, he's actually
Friend of the stream,
New
Rupert
Zealand is
Murdoch.
one of the only like empirical countries where Murdoch doesn't have a stake in the media here. It's like something that like, you know, like I think even our former Prime Minister Jacinda Ardern commented on it, saying that like, you know, that's one of the best things for our media is that he hasn't been able to get there. But like the guy that is the you know, the head of the New Zealand Herald, he has like trans family members who he, you know, by all accounts that I've heard, he loves very much. But it's like this whole thing is like, you know, it's like it's bigger than one person, and it's like, you know, like it's the economic system and it's like the kind of media landscape in general that kind of trends towards making things the way they are. And we can't like, yeah, we can't look at it just as like, you know, like a single newspaper or a single TV station or anything like that. We got to look at the bigger picture. And I think yeah, that book is really helpful for understanding that. Even though some of it's a little bit dated, but a lot of it still fucking, you know, still slaps.
I wonder if the idea of like saving the Daily Mail is you've got to give up on that idea. They were fascist 100 years ago, and they will be if they exist in 100 years. And like you say, like this is all a capitalism thing, but there are some things that we might be able to take from the mainstream news, take bits of it and make our own version of it. Like if we all write on our blogs an article, it's a blog, and people have an idea of what blog. When they see something in the Daily Mail, even though the Daily Mail's fucking wank, it still is an organization and people have heard of it, and lots of people are like, oh, I hate the Daily Mail, and they still read it. They still click on the links, and when it's a topic they don't know about, they still believe what they read. If we made some organization, like we might be able to make a range of organizations. We can make our version of the Times, our version of the Daily Mail, and our version of like the Star or whatever, and have three just pro-trans media organizations, one which is really fussed about looking all proper and, you know, everything's got to appeal to posh people, and then we have this middle like idiot kind of one, and then we have like the bottom gutter clickbait one, and we just steal that thing they have going on, but we are just not making money off it. That's not the goal. The goal is instead making trans rights off it, get people to volunteer to write these articles. You know, if you're a professional journalist, you can write for a top one or whatever, not because we're judging you or whatever. We're playing this game. I don't know. We might.
It would actually be pretty hilarious to invert the Daily Mail thing, and instead of like, you know, they'll do like some clickbait article about like, you know, some trans person or whatever like that, but invert it and just do them about like just fucking politicians or whatever. It'd be like, well, look at this disgusting Tory coming down amongst the common people. Like, you know, like
we could just publish an article
Yeah.
about every single Republican that turns out to be a paedophile, which is like what, one a week. Something I'm unsure about this as a strategy, and I don't know, but when The Guardian posted their bullshit article, I looked up who the journalist was, found his Twitter, tagged him in, and was like, what the fuck are you doing? And it got like 3,000 likes. He's obviously seen it. He's not going to respond.
Yeah.
But, I mean, that we're quite limited in the UK, what we can actually say about people. And I'm not talking about this guy anymore. But in terms of like saying things about journalists, we don't want to be in a situation where we're doing some kind of Trump bullshit, where we're just targeting journalists we don't like.
Yeah.
But at the same time, if they're lying about trans people, maybe we should be saying, hey, this person is bad. And maybe if you're in America and you can actually say what you want, then maybe on your blog or on your organization that you make, you can write
that
what's
happened,
true about them.
With what's his name last week, there was a guy who talked about J.K. Rowling, and then, you know, like a minute later he's got like this statement on his Twitter account how he, you know, regrets the interaction, and you know, those things like very, very
does not say X, Y, and Z
by a lawyer,
actually.
you know, and it's like this wild thing where it's like, you know, like these people do have these money to do these slap suits, you know, to just like shut you up. And you know, so it is like it does limit what a lot of people within the UK can actually, you know, say, because you know, because, you know, you never know if some fucking loser like J.K. Rowling is just gonna spend more money, well, you know, like potentially spend more money than you will ever see in your entire life just to, you know, like take
Tim,
down a tweet.
You could say whatever you want about it because you're
I
in
know, I can.
Aotearoa. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I can say whatever the fuck I want
do
about
whatever you
that
want. You know.
horrible, evil person, J.K. Rowling. I was gonna say a bunch of other stuff, but that's besides the point.
Yeah.
But yeah, you know, so and I mean that's like the other thing, right? Like these they call them slap suits, right? This is another thing from, you know, manufacturing consent, but those don't often, like, it doesn't matter if they can actually like take you to court and prove it or whatever like that, but just all of the shit around it, all the money and the time and the mental energy and stuff like that is enough to get people to just shut up and just never talk about anything like that ever again, and, you know, delete their social media and just
And I don't think people realize how many of them there are. Like I've had 4 and they're fucking stressful. And I know a lot of people who have, you know, when I've referenced something like that, and they'll DM me and they'll be like, oh, this happened to me once, don't tell anyone, I don't want anyone to know, I don't want to lose my job. And like I mean, so many people. It's grim how often this is happening, and people don't want to talk about it because they're scared. And I mean, I'm worried about talking about it. So anyway, question.
All right.
Next
so
question.
Next question from Inky Ink. I think that's how you pronounce that, right?
Yeah.
What are ways we can organize against the onslaught of anti-trans bills being proposed? I'm in Texas, and they are pushing a bill to ban gender-affirming healthcare for all ages, and our community is fleeing for obvious reasons, but it makes the fight harder for those who can't.
Yeah, I mean, it's so fucking grim that I have just not engaged with the latest from Texas. Like, I've got
Texas is horrific right now.
Yeah, the show I was on just before this was based in Texas, and like some of my friends live there, and I mean, I don't even know how to engage with it. I'm so burnt out with the UK stuff, and it's like even worse there. I mean, like we're saying like this is heading in the genocide direction, and in Texas they're like there.
They're doing it.
I had friends move out of Texas. I
guess one thing, I mean, maybe this to Americans, this is obvious, I don't know, but in the UK, when they say, oh, there's this bill proposed, I mean, that seems to be a much higher up in the ladder than when they propose it in Texas, because often you hear like, oh, like there was a bunch of bills where they proposed banning people from wearing the wrong gender clothes or whatever nonsense, and there's like 5 states put those forwards, and it makes you panic, because if they said that in the UK, like there's probably going to be 3 years of parliament debate about this, and it really might happen. Whereas I feel like laws happen much quicker in the USA. Like they might well pass this wacky stuff, but also they make this bill and then it just disappears because people show up and tell them to fuck off, and it all happens on one day and that's it. I don't know. I guess I'm just talking about managing your stress level. But in terms of like organizing against it, I think this. So in North Carolina in 2016 passed a bathroom bill which just banned trans people from using the toilet in public and other spaces.
Yeah.
And they actually backed down on it and got rid of it. There was talk of how it was affecting cis women. They don't care about anything that. They backed down because big companies were like, oh, well, we're just not going to build anything in your state then because we've got trans employees. And I think one of the reasons that Republicans are going all in on Texas is because Google, Microsoft, etc., can afford to boycott North Carolina. Like, who cares? They'll just say, we're not building our next office there, and North Carolina will back down. Texas, they can't. But maybe if, like, it's all money, especially in Texas, it's like most capitalist place on earth, isn't it? If you can make this a money thing, they'll be more likely to listen. You know, if they're going to ban trans healthcare, then that means all of the companies like Google that pretend to care about their workers are going to have to either move their employees out the state or break the law. And maybe everyone should know about that. And everyone should know that this is going to cost Google a lot of money, and it's going to cost Apple. Tim Cook personally cares about this. Like, it's going to cost Apple money. Maybe people should know about them more. Beyond that, I don't want to say I have nothing for you, but it is pretty grim. Turning up at the courtrooms and telling them to fuck off seems to help as well. But you know, they're looking kids in the eye who are begging for their futures and saying fuck you, and then voting like 70-4 to pass some bill ruining this child's life. Like, these people are scum. I don't know, difficult. Sorry.
Did you see the footage of the trans guy doing his tee shot at the
Yeah,
it was great.
man,
showed
some of
on
these
the-
kids are like more courageous at 14 than I
Yeah,
have
that
been in
was,
my
like,
entire life.
Huge.
Can you imagine doing that?
Yeah.
Unreal.
Mm.
Legend.
So dope.
Speaking of
So-
trans men, Fanboy is Trans Boy says, how would you factor the experiences of transgender men specifically in trans liberation? I find trans masked people sort of being secondary in some of these conversations about transphobia, but I think a perspective is important. Like Rowling has a whole chapter of turf wars about us.
Yeah, I think that in a way, our conversations about solidarity with other groups, I mean, maybe trans men, trans women, and non-binary people need a bit more solidarity between the groups. And I mean, the media wants to talk to pretty white middle-class trans women and no one else,
Yeah.
for patriarchy reasons, and also for lots of reasons.
Yeah.
But I think and that's where the debate ends up going, and it can be very easy to just focus on it. I do try and make a point of, you know, whenever I say something, just try and also mention like trans men and non-binary people too. And sometimes I feel like I say like, this affects like me and also these other people, and then I say it like 5 times in a row, and I feel like, oh, I'm being pretty shit like ally on that front. But at the same time, it is important to just bring it up and say it so it's on the forefront of people's minds. But yeah, I think there must be some, like, can you even get a prescription for testosterone in the UK now? Can you even get top surgery in the UK now? Like, I don't even know if you can. And people aren't really talking about it nearly as much as they are talking about other things.
I
Like,
know
I
that
think
bottom surgery for trans men was
they just-
unavailable.
they just stopped doing it. And
Yeah.
like, where was the outcry? I mean, I didn't outcry about it, so I didn't do a good enough job there.
I think one of the most annoying things about testosterone is that I see more cis people in the gym who are clearly on testosterone as like a performance enhancing drug than, you know, any of the trans men that I know. It's, you know, it's like absolutely absurd.
We talked
Baroness
about that
Nicholson.
before. I
Oh.
think we talked about it on the DIY episode, how it's like at gyms there are dudes, like, you know, it's like it's accessible, you know, like people will, like, you know, will offer it and stuff. Like it's fucking wild how it's like probably more accessible for people just for bullshit reasons of guys being like just wanting to get fucking swole or whatever than it is for people that actually need it, you know. Like it's
Well,
fucking
they had
wild.
that thing in, it might have been Missouri, I don't know, one US state recently banned all, they banned like breast augmentation for trans girls and trans women, but had a specific exception in there for cis girls. And they're like, no one is allowed to mutilate their bodies apart from young 16-year-old girls who might be wanting to get married to a 45-year-old man sometime soon. Who might want to get a breast implant.
It's fun because it's like that
just
is like a
disgusting.
gender affirming surgery as well, right? You know, it's like yeah.
Well, I mean, you could say sometimes it was. I think lots of the time it's like pressured upon young girls,
absolutely.
and it's not affirming anything. It's just treating them like
it's like
meat.
I think like there's like a lot
mhm.
of this stuff where it's like, you know, like Elon getting his hair plugs and then like, you know, talking shit on gender affirming surgeries on Twitter and shit like that, where it's like, oh no, well, did, you know, getting your hairline back make you feel like more of a man? Like, you know, it's
Right.
yeah.
It's like, yeah, it's just incredible how they're always like this. It's like all the fucking anti-abortionists, and they've all had an abortion or bullied their
exactly. But for them, it's
mistress or
different
whatever.
though, you know, like it's different for them because they're a special case.
I had someone in my mentions straight up say that breast implants shouldn't be banned for 16-year-old girls because their sex life starts at 16 and it makes sex more fun for them. And I was like, well, that's kind of grim, mate. What the
Yeah,
fuck are
yeah.
you saying? But
And who
also,
was saying this? Was this like a 45-year-old dude?
this is the problem. Well, I mean, probably it was apparently a woman, but
Yeah.
Oh, that's
gender critical women accounts with no pictures are probably often men. But then, like, the thing is, the first layer of this argument is like, what the fuck are you talking about? But the second, every time is like, even if we accept your argument, in what world does this not apply to trans girls? Like, nothing
Yeah,
you said
absolutely,
makes
yeah.
any sense at any level.
Yeah.
Yeah, anyway, I can't remember what the question was. Trans
It
men.
was-
And we started talking
Yeah.
about cis girls and trans women.
Okay, fuck. Okay, so we've failed. We've
Absolute
failed.
failure.
It was
With
how would
this,
you
with
factor
that.
the experiences of transgender men, specifically in trans liberation? I find trans masc people sort of being secondary in some of these conversations about transphobia, but I think our perspective is important. Like Rowling has a whole chapter of turf wars about us.
I think
Oh.
that it's very easy to buy into the gender critical everything is about protecting women. That's what feminism is. It's about protecting women, when really we should be looking at like patriarchy as a whole. And like trans men are getting fucked by all this stuff, and we're not even allowed to say, oh, we should protect trans men, because like people have bought into this idea of we should just be talking about protecting women. And it's just like, we're either protecting cis women or we're protecting trans women, and they are the two options, and we must fight them against each other. But you know, trans men, like even as men, just in general in society, have a load of patriarchy bullshit, like all men do. But then also have the trans side of it, where in fact the rate of sexual assault against trans men is the same as it is against trans women. So
Yeah,
like that is just not something we ever talk about, because whenever we talk about sexual assault, we talk about women, or then we say or trans people, and then that people just think of trans women. And you know, there's a special intersection of trans men when it comes to sexual assault, and I just don't think people ever talk about it. Yeah,
what you
really.
said earlier, I have a friend who frequently makes the news because she's really pretty. Yeah, like she's very based.
Is it
Sorry,
me?
there's something weird in chat. Yeah, yeah, Katie, it's you.
Don't get distracted by chat.
Yeah, I don't know about how we factor trans men into this. Yeah, it's very important.
Just talk about their stories more. I think that,
Yeah,
like, whenever I talk to supportive journalists, that's the thing they always go with, is like stories is what's going to win people over. And I think that was true for the like gay rights movement. So having trans men being like, hey, here's my story, because lots of people just think it's bullshit. Oh, another trans coming out story, who gives a shit? But like, lots of people don't even know that trans men exist at all. So if you're just like, hey, you know what, I'm just a geezer down the pub, and I like whatever geezers down the pub like, then like, you know, it's a story, isn't it? And people might read it and be like, oh, I know a guy like that.
Yeah. I mean, I would say most of the trans dudes I know, like, just like most people would have no idea that they are trans, and they just kind of like, you know, just kind of pass in society, like, you know, very, very easily or whatever. And I feel like it's almost like, because of that, people don't, you know, like people don't even realize, like, it's like, yeah, you might actually know a trans dude, you just don't realize he's just, you know, he's got his head down, he's fucking, you know, like, yeah, there's like tattooers that I know, and it's like people have worked with them for years without even realizing that they were trans, you know. And it's, I think it's like, which is like, you know, like cool, but like because of that, I think it's also being less visible means that like people don't even just realize that it's like all these, there are like all these trans dudes out there, you know. They're just yeah, you know, obviously not, I guess, like maybe not as well known or whatever, not as visible.
Need to get them on more shows like this.
Yeah, I might
yeah,
actually hit one
absolutely.
up. Yeah.
So Ashley Bean Pie said, very important question. How long have you been playing guitar?
Since I was 16, so over half of my life. Yeah, quite a long time. It's fun.
Yeah.
What guitar have you got, Katie?
I have a Magic trick for you. This is my
Oh.
current guitar.
Visible. Whoa.
Whoa.
Let me turn off my little.
Is it so? It's green.
It is indeed.
That rocks.
Oh.
I love that shit.
Oh, shit.
Oh, that's
That is
awesome.
great.
I love
That's
it.
a good color, isn't it?
Yeah, that's
It-
I
this
love
is
that
the-
color.
Fucking good.
This is the Ibanez RGR 5220M.
Okay,
believe.
so the reason I asked you that is because I know you like thrash metal, and I kind of like thrash metal, probably not as much as you. I have an Ibanez GRX 170, if you know what that is.
Don't. I'm not actually a gear person.
Yeah, Ibanez just, yeah, they make
Ibanez
some,
is where the shred is at.
yeah, they make
Where
some
the
pretty
shred
fucking
is
good
at.
guitars,
Ooh.
I also like Ghost, by the way. Good band.
Yeah, I love Ghost. You know, I hate it when people call them Scooby-Doo metal, you know? It's like
I
mean,
that's exactly
I
what
get
I
it.
thought when I heard
but-
that
I get
phrase
it,
a
you know what I
little.
mean?
Yeah,
I
yeah.
get it, but it's like, you know, they've got a lot of good content. There's a lot of good content in their lyrics, and you know, they did like a whole song about you know, the plague and rats and all this stuff, and that came out pretty close to 2020.
I remember
so that got me
yeah.
through, you know?
I think I heard their first record when Fenris does his little like, you know, like these are some bands you should check out, Fenris
Yeah.
from Dark Throne, and he did one, and I think he said something about them being like Blue Oyster Cult, but like scarier or something
They
like
were
that.
like
It's like
that.
they're exactly
the first
that.
album, yeah.
Yeah.
Like that's actually where I found out about them.
Yeah, that was like, I mean, I love those videos Fenris used to make like that, and like, yeah, adrenaline override your drive and stuff. Anyway, that's neither here nor
Yeah.
there. We
But-
should probably
Yeah, we just concluded our questions section,
Yeah.
so thank you so much for that. And the one last thing we will request of you. We always assign our chatters homework after every
we
episode.
do.
It's something actionable they can do. And you know, in the coming week before the next show, where we assign them more homework, and they love getting homework from us. They're very obedient little chatters. So I don't know if you have any suggestions for what chatters homework, or sorry, for the listener, the audience's homework could be for this week.
Yeah, I mean, I guess one, although we were just kind of complaining about it in a way, signing
Mhm.
that petition for Brianna's whatever post, I can't remember what the word is, GRC, that's a very easy one. So that's your like question 1A homework. It's very easy. But yeah, more stuff. I think I did write another suggestion in the email, but I can't remember what I actually wrote.
I think that's a
Maybe have a
really
think
actionable
about
one.
like things that we could do. Have a think about ways that we could do effective protests, right?
Yeah, like what's or maybe come up with a way of communicating a message. If you think of an issue like trans men don't have access to bottom surgery in the UK, how would you communicate that if you had to do either a 2-minute radio segment, or if you had to write it on a protest sign? And don't think what's the funniest or what's the most factually accurate or whatever. What is the way you would sell this thing to a cis person who doesn't really care? Like
Mhm.
thinking about it, rather than like the title of this like petition is, you know, give a GRC, allow it to amend it to something, or like we want children who are murdered to not be insulted at their funerals because of the shit system. Like that is I think that's an easy sell. So how would we be like, trans men the NHS doesn't even provide like one of the most fundamental parts of trans healthcare for a lot of people
Mhm.
at all, to like half of the people who want to get trans healthcare, you know, like lower surgery. I don't know, there must be a way of selling this in one. And sometimes I get this, like I'll be arguing with people, I argue with them like, you know, all these shitheads every single day, and sometimes after months of making these arguments, I'm like, this is a better way of saying this. And then like you kind of hone it down. And
Mhm.
Yeah, absolutely.
if everyone in the audience is like thinks up a way of doing this, and then everyone comes up with 100 different ideas, maybe one of them will be like, oh shit, I didn't think of
Yeah.
phrasing it like that before. And then
Yeah,
next time
yeah.
you get a chance, you can just be like, you know, Let's do that. Let's say
That's
it
a,
like
that's a
that.
Let's do that.
fantastic tip. Yeah, that's a fantastic
Mm.
request. I know that as a streamer, there are certain things that I talk about so frequently that I can tell the progress that I've made over time, whether it be
Mm.
months or years, where I'm like, and sometimes we'll just literally do that. We'll just say, hey, how can we like make this into an elevator pitch? Because someone will come
Yeah.
into the chat and ask a question. I'm like, I don't want to go through an entire like the history of whatever, you know, you want to, nobody's interested in that. Like, and it's not effective, right?
Mm.
You're asking a lot of somebody to like be patient through that and then to absorb it all. And then, you know, so just what's a quick elevator pitch for this? And I know that if it wasn't for the fact that I do stream, I wouldn't have had the opportunity to like, or wouldn't be forced to, you know, have to hone that. And it's absolutely a skill that you can develop, and it's extremely effective. And it's extremely practical. So I think this is a great suggestion.
Yeah, and we can have them as a community as well. Like
Mhm.
if anyone, like
You
I
don't
know
have to keep it
some,
to yourself. Tell other people what it is so you can all share it. Right.
yeah, and also, I mean, I know sometimes people like being credited for their work, and that's totally fine. Anything I say on anything, you 100% have my permission to just rip the fuck off. Like,
Oh, yeah.
just take it. Don't even say my name. Just claim you made it up. I do not care. But I think that's how, you know, as a community, we need to do this. So if you come up with a really good elevator pitch and you're defensive about it, and you're like, oh, I can't, you know, I'm not going to tell you you're wrong, but maybe donate it to the community.
Yeah.
So yeah.
All right.
Cool.
Well,
Anything you want to plug?
Tomorrow, if I am still alive, today has been quite tiring. I'm on like hour 4.5 of arguing with people and stuff. I have Turf Wars, which is my main show, coming back to YouTube at 9 p.m. UK time. First episode of season 4. I've got a whole new fucking backdrop, and well, I've got Kaylin Conrad, if anyone knows them. It's like an amazing set design.
Yeah, a friend of mine.
Caitlin's in the Twitch chat. Yeah.
Oh, is it? Oh, shout out to
Yeah.
Kaylin. Mr. Blobby's biggest fan, has designed all of the like backing and all of the like title cards, everything. It looks fucking amazing. I've just finished today writing all of the music for all of the intros. Sorry, I'm bigging this up loads. Anyway, that's my main thing. Also, I got a website now, katymontgomerie.com. Can you search it and click on it so Google says that I'm doing better in the rankings? That'd be great. That's all. Thanks.
Also, so what is your band called, and where can people hear them?
Oh yeah, Dehumanaut. We wrote an album, a second album in like 2021, and I haven't recorded it yet, which is mainly my fault. But now Turf Wars is relaunched. I can now focus on doing a second album. So it's like DE, the word human, and then AUT. It's like thrash death.
So
Yeah, it's on all the things.
yeah, awesome. All right, cool. Well, thanks for that. Yeah, awesome. It's been amazing having you on. And
Yeah, thanks for having me.
hearing you talk, helping us out. Cool. So
especially after doing a show right before that. Thank you so much for coming on.
Thanks for
Yeah,
staying
yeah.
for the full
Not to
2
labor for you.
hours.
Feeling pretty tired, and also I'm sitting in these like midday bulb daylight lighting, so my brain's gonna
It really does mess you up.
yeah, it
Yeah,
does.
welcome to my world.
I'm gonna go have lunch and then I'm gonna go to
Anyways.
bed.
Thank you so much, Katie,
Oh.
for joining
yeah,
us.
thanks for coming
Thanks
by.
for having me.
Thanks, Katie.
Take care.
Bye, Katie.
Bye. Well, everyone, I think that was a very poggers episode.
Very pog champ.
What an amazing
Big
guest.
pog.
That's right. Big pogs all down, all the way down. But what I really want to know is when the show is over and we're no longer here, the little listeners, the audience, the cheeky little, okay, all right, fine. Well, how can they give us money is what I was going to say, Conrad, actually. That's what I was going to say.
Like
So-
that
Just have a
nobody,
producer
everyone
note
else
there.
doesn't
So-
know that Conrad's talking to you. It just sounds like you just like having
Just
like
having
this
an
argument with
argument.
yourself.
Wait,
Like,
what?
Okay, fine.
Wait, no one heard that? Okay.
I don't think
No, Conrad's just in our ears.
It's just in our ears only.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay, so anyway, the producer has just told me off. That's why that happened. Now I feel weird. Patreon, anyway. £2 a month. £2 a month. That's Sprite mode. You can do that. You can get on Sprite mode and
Chat,
give us
go to
money.
patreon.com/red_planet and become a patron. Do
That's
it.
right. And
Everyone should do it. Everyone should do it.
here's what you get from being on Sprite mode. You get the sacred and forbidden knowledge that you're helping the Red Planet team, early access to VODs, access to the Red Planet Discord, which is really cool. And Tim's in there. Imagine that.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
One of the
And
many
then
people that you
for-
can talk to there.
$10 a month, Goblin mode in America is $10 a month. Everyone loves a goblin. We all get a little goblin mode from time to time. Complete your gobology by going goblin mode with everything from Sprite mode. Okay. And a pack of cool Red Planet stickers for you to stick in legal places and only in places like that. And access to exclusive Red Planet Discord hangouts. And we have one coming up this Tuesday. Isn't that right?
Yeah.
Tuesday at
So
10
become a go to
p.m.
Goblin mode and you will be eligible to join us this Tuesday for our exclusive Red Planet hangout. We're going to be watching
Judas and the Black Messiah.
There it is. Thank you. Yeah.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
what about the next tier, Tim?
Beast mode.
Yeah.
Holy shit, are you actually gonna go beast mode? I think this is about $20 a month American. In
Yep.
New
Yep.
Zealand it's like 38 plus GST. Holy shit, are you actually gonna go beast mode? Well, then we can offer you all the stuff from the lower tiers and pin badges. Yep, pin badges. Wear your excellent new Red Planet pin badge literally everywhere. It is completely cool and good to do. So yeah, so this includes all the Discord benefits and everything from the lower tiers as well, like coming into the Hangouts and all that kind of stuff. So yeah, this one is pretty good. But if you're just thirsting to support Red Planet, you can't control yourself. What mode could you then engage?
Oh.
If you're
Go ahead.
absolutely sick with your love of Red Planet, you seem like a sicko.
yeah.
And that means that you should go sicko mode. And that's
You should, you
$100 a
should.
month. It's £94 a month plus VAT. And if you support us this much, we can only reasonably offer you all the stuff from the lower tiers, plus a very special thank you message at the end of every stream. Now, what does that look like? You're wondering. It looks like this. Goblin Games NZ and JBP. Mwah! Thank you for being
It looks
sickos.
just like
Mwah.
that.
That's what it looks like.
Mwah.
Yeah, and you get all the other stuff too. They can come hang out and watch Judas and the Black Messiah, and they get the pins and the badges. Yeah. Yep. Yeah.
That's
Yep.
absolutely
Yep.
right.
Yeah.
And just to go back to what I was saying before, that actually I wasn't saying before, where can we find Sophie from Mars after this stream is over?
Wowie, on Sophie from Mars on all of the platforms. I'm working on a thing about Elizabeth Holmes and Theranos at the moment. It should be out soon. I'm also doing something about doomerism and how it's cringe. The most important place to check me out is patreon.com/Sophie from Mars. That pays my bills. But what's the most important place to check out Tim?
Well, you can find me here or on YouTube as Conquest of Dread, but you can also find me over on Twitter as Dread Conquest. So yeah, I haven't been streaming too much lately with all of the natural disasters, that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And not having power and internet and all that kind of stuff. But yeah, I want to get back into it though. I'm playing through Black Book on stream and it's really good. And yeah, over on Twitter is just more shit posting and stuff, the usual on Elon's great site.
Friend of the show,
So-
Elon Musk.
Yeah, close personal friend of Kira Chats, who can be found at where?
You can find me in my link tree. All my links are there, including my Twitter, including my Twitch, which are all found under Kira Chats. Basically, everywhere you can find me under Kira Chats. But my link tree also has my not safe for work, unmentionable links, which I cannot detail any further than this. Wink, wink.
Wink, wink, wink,
Wink.
wink.
Yes. Click on it. Click on it. Do it.
Click the link. Do it now.
Click the link. You know you want to. Okay. But wait, who have we not talked about yet? Is it everyone?
Yeah.
Oh,
DJ
did we not? Did I almost forget my little peanut butter jelly sandwich?
I didn't want to say anything.
Oh, my heart.
I didn't want to say
We wanted to have ourselves a nice peanut butter jelly sandwich with the crust on or off. It's up to you. Where can we find that?
Listen, Kira is so smart. I just have to say, she's so smart and clever. She reminded me that I have a link tree, and I do have a link tree, and it's, if you're on Twitch and YouTube, it's there in the chat right now. It's just easier. All my stuff is there. Like, it makes so much sense to just do that. But yeah, I'm working on a video right now. I'm working on a YouTube video right now, a couple of YouTube videos right now, very, very hard. So that's what I'm doing at the minute. And if you want to check out some updates from that, you can head on over to my Patreon and give me money, and you can also you know, be in the fucking credits of the video and all that kind of stuff, and you get all these kind of things like early access to videos and stuff. So yeah, please consider giving me money on Patreon. In the meantime, at the moment, I'm just really gaming on Twitch right now.
Yeah.
But you know, yeah, you could support me on Twitch too. Like, head over to Twitch and yeah, watch me do some Dark Souls speedruns. I'm doing some Dark Souls remastered speedruns at the minute, and yeah, maybe I'll beat my PB of 1 hour 40. I think it is. No, 1 hour 20.
That's pretty good.
It's not bad, Tim. It's not bad. It could be better. It could be better. So, you know, that's what we're trying to do.
All right. Awesome. Cool. Okay, cool. So thanks for joining us this week. Next week we're gonna have some guests from the Good Law Project. So yeah, that'll be great. I hope to very big pogs for that one. But now we're gonna raid Nicotine. So we'll see you next week, everyone.
Thank you so much, and thank you
Bye.
everybody on YouTube for watching. Thank you all the listeners of the podcast and everything. Love you very much.
Bye everyone.